Okay, Nadia, do you want to make a backup recording?
Sure, that would be helpful.
Let me make that possible.
Thank you.
Let's see. Well, I'm not seeing it as an option right now. Let me try again. Allow to record local files. You should be able to do it now.
Recording.
Excellent. It's 7:05, and I'm going to start reading the script. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised this meeting is being audio-video recorded. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of those discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for the discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. Please address all comments to the chair. This meeting of the Conservation Commission is being held by Zoom at the link provided in this notice. The Zoom ID number is 792-737-0353. As I understand it, it's being broadcast over Facebook Live, but it's not being broadcast over cable. I'm Bob Pease. I'm the chair. We'll do a roll call. Let's see who is here. Rich Birch.
Present.
Jeff Viviano.
Present.
Patricia Adams.
Present.
Katie Childs. Not so much, evidently. Mike LaRouche.
Present.
Jack Rabbit.
Still here.
And we have our two associate members, Rich Tremblay. Rich, can you, okay, Rich is here. He waved at us. And Mary Wilson.
Present.
First order of agenda is public comment. Any announcements or comments from the members of the commission? Please raise your hand or wave at the screen or whatever. Jack Rapp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Mr. Chairman, a couple of real quick points. I just sent you over some documents as related to the 76 Peninsula Drive. We'd done some research and a field report on it back in April. And I know Matt was talking to Casey about it, but it seems to have fallen off the radar here. And I'm just hoping that if you take a look at it and get that back up on the agenda, we could, you can take a look at that. And yeah, that would be it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from any other comments from members of the commission? Any comments from members of the public? I do have one comment. Last week, the select board considered 5 candidates for 3 positions and appointed Jeff Viviano, Mary Wilson, and myself to terms going from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025. This was a reminder that the Conservation Commission members are appointed, not elected, and that they serve at the pleasure of the select board. Some select board members used as a criterion that 4 of the 5 applicants lived on lakes, something I honestly hadn't thought of before the meeting. During the meeting, members of the select board provided commentary about the operation of the Conservation Commission. While I urge all members to view the meeting on YouTube, I wanted to share my personal takeaways from the select board comments as I thought they were appropriate. The first was conservation meeting. The commission's meetings are too long and not respectful of the public's time. Individual members were urged to ask themselves if all their comments really add value or are necessary to the process. The commission as a whole was urged to try to improve the user experience for the applicants. The second takeaway I had was commissioners were urged to stay in their lane. This means administering the Inland Wetlands Act and not getting distracted by other issues unrelated to compliance with the state or local wetlands regulations. All of our votes should be based on wetlands considerations. Votes based on other considerations will not stand up in court if we're challenged. And the third takeaway I had was the authority of the commission lies with the commission as a whole and not with individual commissioners. Two selectmen made the point that once the commission's voted on an issue, individual commissioners should support the decision and not work against it as individuals. They said the commission should work as a team. Those are my personal takeaways from that process. Are there any other additional? I got to admit 3 more people. Any other comments, Jack?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that occurred during that process was they asked if we'd be interested in participating as adjunct members or associate members. I did think about that because what we do is incredibly important to me, and I put 8 years into this. So what I discovered, and I haven't heard the answer back yet, but because we are appointed, we are provided with essentially an insurance umbrella with regard to if there's an accident that occurs on our site, walks or whatever, it's there. If somebody decides to create a legal claim against something that we might have said as we're doing our duties, if you're a member, you have the protection. If you're an adjunct member, you have no protection. And I've asked Heather to consider that because as we recruit other people, we really should be letting them know of all the possibilities in terms of if you're a participating member, that's one thing. And if you're an adjunct member in a study, that might be another thing. So that I'm waiting for Heather, and I haven't heard back in that regard. I did hear the somewhat things similar to what you indicated, Bob. It was, I know that brevity is important. However, when we find that we need to share data, it should never be cut off. And as an example for tonight, I had received an agreement with you that essentially we would be allowed to share more information specific to one of the agenda items in another PowerPoint mode to highlight the differences that occurred. And you determined that it wasn't appropriate that I share that data. Well, okay, I get that we need brevity, but I think the need for a brevity to the point in which you sacrifice the quality of the discussion is totally inappropriate. So I accept the need to fast, and we can do other things that would also accelerate that and not necessarily cutting off discussions. But I thank you very much. And I'll finish when we're done. I'll finish my final round. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Any
Yeah.
other comments? If there are no other comments, minutes of the previous meeting, June 1st. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. We have a motion and a second. Roll call. If I hear no further discussion, roll call. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty.
Aye.
Thank you, Patty. Mike,
Aye.
Jack.
I didn't get a chance to read it. I pass. Thank you.
All right, and I for myself. Appointments, hearings. We have an appointment with 205 Sunset, the Beers property. Is someone here for the Beers property?
Yes, Ryan is here.
All
Ryan
right,
Crawford.
Ryan. Ryan, or Nadia, if one of you want to take it away on this discussion for this appointment, I'd appreciate it.
I can start with a screen share if that's helpful. I think at the last meeting, the commission had requested an updated plan.
Okay,
Oh, hold on. I need the ability to screen share, sorry.
oh, I'm sorry, that is my fault. Go into security, allow people to screen share, you should be good to go.
And then beyond that, I mean, the commission came out for a bit of a site visit on this Saturday. And I think that, you know, the Brian and they were able to describe what had been going on in the property as well. I don't know if they'd like to talk about it any further or if there are further questions from the commission.
And so if I, go ahead, Matt, you have something to add here, or Ryan?
Yes, sorry, this is Ryan. I do actually have a short presentation that I hope adds some perspective from our view in the response.
And so screen sharing is this first, before we do that, does any commissioners have any questions about this diagram, or questions or comments about this diagram? Jack Rabbit.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I too, while I wasn't able to participate with the team on Saturday, I did have a chance to go by the area yesterday from the lakeside and took a perspective of it. And I know while we're looking at this particular piece of property, we're also looking at some adjacent properties. When I looked at that, I realized that essentially, if you were to look at that platform, essentially that stairway comes pretty much straight all the way down. We had to basically allow a consideration with regard to a small area to stop and rest if it were needed, as we have done with others. I wasn't there for the vote to allow that piece to be extended like this. And I know what, after seeing the properties, all of them, the trees, the vegetation, as well as reminding ourselves that we have a rule that says nothing within 30 feet and non-disturbance. And we'd also want to remind the members that, in fact, I believe maybe 6, 8 months, maybe even a year ago, we had people remove some of the building and structures that were within the 30 feet on their lawns. The recall was, essentially, this is out of bounds. Now, if we were to go back and look at the rules and the laws, if someone deviates from what was originally approved by that, the committee has the right to take it all the way back and remandate the structure itself. And I believe that we do. And I would definitely support essentially allowing a stairway to come down. I wouldn't, and I would some sort of a floating dock in there. That wasn't the case. I also had a chance to observe other areas, and essentially, while the commitment was made, we won't establish a beach if we do this, the reality is they don't have the right to establish the beach. They don't have the right to trample the vegetation. In fact, while I was there yesterday, I had a chance to witness one of these particular pieces of property, and there was a grill going and the vegetation was beginning to get trampled. And so that it begs a real big question. Why would we allow anything to occur within that 30 feet except for a ladder? Why would we allow folks to go in and destroy that vegetation? And you can't tell me there's not going to be trees taken in the other areas. So it just makes no sense. I would also like to point out that while we don't have specific control over that, if we allow those 3 or 4 options to occur, you're going to end up with a small marina down there. You're going to dramatically change the shoreline. and with regard to the buffer, you're going to significantly reduce the amount of vegetation, even with allowing the stairways, which we have done. But no way in heck do we want to ever allow that. You know, I listened to NPR the other day, Bob, and they talked about the diminishment of habitat, specifically as related to the 30% of the birds are gone from 1970 to current, and it's directly related to habitat. We're destroying that habitat. So I can't support any of these platforms, nor would I ever, because they aren't needed. And if someone wants to enjoy the lake, go use a floating dock and use the boat, but don't create platforms for that. We are violating our own town bylaws by putting structures like this within 30 feet of the wetland. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Any other comments from commissioners? Okay, well then, Ryan, not if you stop, I think you have to stop sharing. I'm not sure, but I think you have to stop sharing your screen so Ryan can share his.
Done?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay. So I have a few slides and a few things I wanted to go over, which was what happened as an overview. So hopefully we can do this relatively quickly. We were new to the process. We asked the admin for assistance. We had a Zoom meeting, an on-site walk with the carpenter, and we worked out the best access and project location to minimize disturbance to vegetation. It's not a lot of vegetation there. And we actually worked out where the work would go and where this construction would go in order to minimize the impact to the vegetation. During that on-site walk, Matt made it very clear that as we looked at other sites in the area, that there were not any, that what happened in those other sites would not necessarily mean that we could do something similar. So I think that definitely addresses part of the concerns that are brought up about setting precedents. That communication was very clear. We never considered other work on other sites to be a precedent for ours. So based on that, we made a proposal, a sketch. The admin reviewed, and based upon what we understand, reviewed the chairman part of the RDA. During the RDA, we got a negative determination with overwhelming support. And during that discussion, the meeting discussion, it was stated that it was approved because there was very low vegetation where we were planning to put it, which is still true, including any of the areas that were expanded, which I'll get into later, and that there would be nothing permanent or driven into the ground, which is still true. And that was really the, you know, what that conversation was all about. When we got the finding of facts from the commission, the only statements in there was that structures were not placed permanently in the ground, which we complied, and there will be no removal of trees or vegetation other than the street, which we complied and exceeded because we actually left trees behind that were part of the, that were marked as part of the original project proposal. And then the only other thing that we knew is that based upon our bylaws and the discussion during the meeting, we proceeded with the project in order to minimize impact to the ground, to the site. So as far as addressing your concerns, posts in the water, so based upon the steepness of the bank and the calculations of the rise and the runs, the end of the stairs were very close to the bank. So the builder put their posts in the water to minimize the impact to that banking. And there wasn't really a discussion on that, so we weren't clear that that was not allowed. I think it's become more clear since then, clearly. We performed it during the dry down. All the ground was frozen, and the posts were put actually on dry, frozen ground. Currently, with the high level of water that's in there, it's 6 inches of water. So to put it in perspective, we're talking 6 inches of water for 6 months of the year. So clearly the placement of these posts in the water is allowed. Obviously, that's under, now we know, under a NOI, but certainly unobstructed flowage of water, minimal damage to pre-existing banks, and adequate light to maintain vegetation. So we actually do comply, we are compliant with all those, all that statement, even if the process wasn't quite right. Moving those posts to land would significantly increase the impact to the bank of the vegetation. Right there on the shore, the banking is softer. There is minimal vegetation, but there is some. It would also raise the height of the lower landing, which would require additional construction in order to get to the dock. It would be too high to step onto, recently step onto a dock. Let's see. So as you can see here, the end of the stairs is really just a few feet from the banking, and there would not really be room there for landing. And if there were posts or any kind of contact other than the way that we did it, those posts would be more impactful to that banking. All right, so as far as the overall size, so much of the size differences is a matter of perspective and how the original drawing is interpreted. I can show that on the next drawing. So some increase on the upper and lower decks were done with the intention to limit the impact to the site. So there was an expansion of the upper, which was driven by moving posts to a more level and unvegetated area of the ground, which is actually, in our view, an improvement to the impact, which is what we thought we were supposed to do. On the lower, there was an expansion on the left because these stairs were so close to the banking. An exit from that landing would have been right on the bank. So it was an expansion that was needed in order to have the exit be more in an unvegetated and inland flat area. And in general, so the decking boards were all that were in stock. The builder mentioned that they were going to try and do to board length because they thought it was a smaller change, perhaps, than maybe other people would interpret it to be. And so some expansion was really to reduce the on-site work and the impact. As far as the upper deck, you can see that here's the post. It's very evident, I think, in person, but this is where they are, is a lower area. And if you move it up, it's a lot steeper and potentially could induce future slide or require additional maintenance in the future. Here's an diagram for that perspective. So for example, if you look at it the way the builder interpreted it, and with stairs, all stairs have a landing, according to safety codes, stairs, landing. So if you look at the upper deck, the original was 70 square feet, as built is 78, which is really a pretty small difference. So if you look at the expansion, which was to keep the posts off the bank, if you don't include that, the upper deck is actually 61.8, which is less square footage than the upper deck is drawn. And the lower landing, again, perspective, original was 48, it's built 64, 16 square feet is there. But if you look at, for example, the extension, which is 32 square feet, again, depending on the perspective, you come very close to what was approved or discussed, proposed. Depending on perspective, you could have, maybe an addition of 14 square feet or even smaller. All right, so in summary, the process in general, I think, had lack of clarity and requirements given to us, even though we did ask for that in writing with the admin. And I think in support of this, and I support it, multiple commission members and the admin have mentioned in various forums a desire to improve this. I believe Bob and Mary, both in their nomination speeches, actually addressed this. And again, I support that, especially having gone through it. So as far as we felt, we followed the instructions requirements as presented to us. And we don't think it's a precedence because it's a unique site as far as, the size of the site, the lack of vegetation, where we put the structures, and, the size of the site as well. And we felt the communication was very clear up front that, precedent just doesn't happen. Also, we know that one or more conservation members visited or saw the site during the construction and did not raise any concerns. And any changes were driven by desire and requirement to minimize the short and long term and the future use of the site. So we feel there was a serious fault in the process and perhaps on both sides. We understand that any and all changes should have been reviewed. And while there were some changes that were made, we were not aware that we needed to stop and consult based on the instructions we were given. And possibly this should have been an NOI process. While I don't know that well, it could have improved the clarity on both sides. So we didn't do any research of the regulations after the RDA, because we really didn't have a reason to undertake it. And still it's, now we know it's a mistake our mistake in the process. Ever since, we've attended every meeting, we've spent hours, we're really trying to, really work with you. And also another comment, we've heard our name and project mentioned multiple times with negative commentary by members and being compared to other projects, which we feel are much more severe or different or completely different. So basically we're kind of in a frustrating position here. We feel that the process in general kind of failed us. And we've been cooperating from the very beginning and trying to do the right thing. And we're still kind of unclear how the size different opposed cause, significant impact. Both of these scenarios provide additional protection to the lot and the embankment, both near term and future. And also, if you take into effect that the site was visited during construction with no concerns being raised until after it was completed, seems unfair. So we'd like to put forth the request that we can accept our plan. And we want to work with the commission to come to a resolution while protecting the site, both in the short term and the long term, on how to fully stabilize it. And we also can ask that you not rush to a decision, that we can work with you. We're willing to spend the time to work with you to come up with a mutually acceptable resolution. So I think the remedy that was put forth, which is basically as built on the left, and one of the proposals was, or one of the discussion items was to try and rebuild it to one perspective or interpretation of the proposal and the sketch that we put in. So we feel that the pros of what we did far outweigh the negatives of the impact to changing it at this point in time. So the pros of what we put in place that minimizes the impact, both long and short term, to that banking the site, keeps foot traffic off the ground. If you look at especially the members that came to visit or have visited that, the foot traffic is, I think, very impactful. If you look at other sites that do not have a place to, do not have, any kind of an area to, besides the stairs. So we have a revegetation proposal, which would bring it above and beyond what it was there before our project started, I think. And then also, I think we'd like to offer ourselves, if there is a project, to improve the communication or the education of applicants under the process to, help work with you or review or give you our feedback on that, which is basically a communicate service. And also the railings remain intact if we keep it the way it is. This has been a positive part of the discussion by the commission in previous meetings, that this would help keep foot traffic off the ground and reduce the impact. Certainly, I think you've raised it multiple times. You need to make sure that there's clear communication. We felt there was when Matt walked us through, but I think I understand your position there. As far as trying to change it back to the interpretation or some interpretations of the sketch, the work itself would severely impact the bank. It impacts the site long term. It actually encourages foot traffic if you don't have a way to enjoy it on decks. And it's also more likely to require rework in the future because of the steep aspects of the banking. The stairs would potentially slide or become uneven and require more work in the future. I think that our as built is more stable in that regard. If you look at other locations and other sites along that area, it's clearly moved and will require rework, which will be more impactful. Obviously, there's financial and usage impacts to us. The other thing is that it's not entirely technically possible. So for example, the stair length on the initial proposal would put the bottom of the stairs in the water. So to say that that's exactly what you have to build, it's not technically possible. And then, I'm sorry, I missed the last one. Let's see. So that's what I have. Thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you, Ryan. Jack Rabbit.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I apologize for not necessarily sending this along, but this is a picture I took yesterday. As you'll note, that the stairway essentially goes straight up. That tree that theoretically precipitated the jog and the need for the deck, well, it's not exactly as presented in that in the initial set of drawings that was approved. And I believe that the drawings that just came up again showed the need for the jog. I couldn't see it. And I think that there was another, there've been other comments made to me that wasn't needed. So here we are. It's a question of somebody wants to be able to put some decks on that hillside to enjoy that place. Now, it's number one, it's a violation of our town bylaws with regard to the 30-foot boundary. Secondly, I guess, did you have some kayaks in there off the side that were on the bushes, or was that just some other neighbor?
Mr. Commissioner, if I can respond to you, we do not have anything like that on the ground. It is not ours. We actually ordered and installed and paid for kayak racks on our dock in order to keep kayaks off the banking. So again, I think this is an instance where we've tried to go above and beyond to keep the impact to the site at a minimum.
Right. Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Jack.
If you could ask to have that last drawing that was presented to us, put it back up.
Nadia, can you put the drawing back up? Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, so that tree that caused us to have to put that deck in, I believe in an earlier one, there was more of a jump, but basically I believe that he is they have basically didn't have to do that. And it looks like they didn't do it. And so what I'm saying is that there is no need. And when we did the inspections, by the way, we had gone out a couple of times. It really wasn't safe, a safe environment to go in. As you recall, there's no railings. There was still some construction done. Didn't want to use those stairs because you weren't sure what was secured and what wasn't. So therefore, we didn't get down to measure like that. And I'm hoping that the other members, when they went down this weekend, they had a chance to take a look at it and compare it to what we normally allow. And while these are great arguments being presented, they're simply viewpoints and arguments not consistent with the practice of this Conservation Commission, nor is it consistent with the town bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Richard Tremblay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was on a site walk on Saturday, and I did take a few pictures that I thought if I could share with the board, that maybe it might give them a better idea of what they're looking at.
Sure, go ahead.
All right.
I'm not sure. I think Nadia has to stop sharing first.
All right. See if I can get this. Okay, this is a shot of the staircase coming down. This is the top landing. And you can see the supports where they did. They put the 2x6s in on the hill, cut in a little bit. This one just goes straight in. And this comes down to the first landing. I'm hoping I can change to the next one. Hang on. There we go. And this is where it goes around that tree. That's still a landing. You can see over here where they've cut into the hill to support the structure that they're building. And this set of stairs coming down now will go to that landing that's down by the water. Oh, this is the extension deck on the top that came out beyond the tree, where they wrapped around the tree. And you can see where they have supported here. This, they told me, was a solar panel to run the solar lights that are in the stairway. And this is the bottom section of deck, which you can see the pole is in the water. We've all been talking about that as well. And this section of dirt up here, I know we've got poles in all the other areas of dirt. This is pretty flat surface. I can't see a problem if that pole was on land and not out in the dirt. And then from this deck, you can see another picture that I took coming down, the same thing. I'll try to show you the area itself. And this is the dock that goes off that bottom section. I forget how long they said it was. I know it's supposed to be 4 feet wide, and it goes out there to that extra platform or that platform. All right, I thought that might be helpful to the board, sir, so I wanted to share that.
Thank you very much, Rich. You have any other comments? Ryan, you have your hand up. Did you have something
Yes,
else you
sir.
wanted to say?
Yeah, so regarding the need for the jog, if you look from the top of the stairs down, if you go straight down the stairs, it would go directly into the tree. That is incredibly clear, I think, if you look from the top down. And that was actually part of the original approval, which I think trying to go back and undo that original meeting is, which had overwhelming support, and the committee voted for, a negative determination. So I think trying to undo what was approved in the beginning is against your comments in the beginning. But you very much need that jog based upon where the stairs went down, based upon the trees that are there. And that was part of our original proposal and the reason for it. Also, I think there's been a number of mention of town bylaws. And I'd like to, if I could request specifically which bylaws those are, because in our research, it appears that the commission is completely authorized to approve this type of thing. And again, I go back to maybe there was an error in process, but certainly the original approval and, much of what is done is completely within the authority as far as the bylaws that we've seen. So I think if I can request specifics on those comments, that would be great.
Thank you, Ryan. It's my personal opinion that anybody who said it violates the bylaws misspoke. It violates the regulations which were passed under our bylaw. I don't know that the 30-foot no disturbance and the 50-foot no structure are in the bylaw. I believe those are all in the regulations. But if somebody wants to correct me on that, they're more than welcome to, but I believe that's correct. I'm going to call on Paula Bertram, who hasn't spoken yet.
Hi, I just want to comment as a longtime lake resident. I've been sitting here hearing this discussion. I'm not aware of the situation, but in looking at the pictures, it appears to me that this homeowner has done everything they can to preserve the existing vegetation. And if those decks were not there, those stairways were not there, the reality is that people would be scrambling down that bank, causing erosion and putting the dirt into the lake. So I just, as someone who lives on a different lake, it looked to me like this was a very reasonable way to approach the situation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Paula. Jack, you have something new?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First of all, if I might respond to Paula, basically, Paula, we're not trying to stop the stairway at all. In fact, we would encourage it. What we're asking is that they respect the 30-foot no touch. To also respond, I use this, basically a guideline developed by the state, the Mass Erosion and Sedimentary Control Guidelines. And they clearly identify 25 feet as their desired request specification. I know we go to 30 feet. I know some of the towns like Woburn go to 50 feet. However, it is outlined in our documents. It is outlined in the state documents. And I think that as soon as we do this, we are going to have to go back and apologize all over the town if we allow this. And, and for that matter, we're getting ourselves opened up. Bob, we had somebody take a roof off a house not too recently because they violated the 50-foot, right? Or the 50-30 foot. So to come back and allow somebody to build multiple structures on the side of a hill to essentially provide a recreation area, as we did with a house, a year ago, we had them take down their gazebo because it was in the 30s. So to allow this, we will open ourselves up for a lot of folks coming back to us and saying, you know what, you let that happen. Why not let me have it? And then the other point I'd like to make is when more of those decks you put out, you eliminate the possibility of light reaching that vegetation that could conceivably grow below that and help reinforce that deck, like the slope. A large deck like that takes the habitat apart, takes the ability of a plant to grow, and especially where an area where we really need it. So that would be it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll lower my hand.
Thank you. Nadia Madden.
Yes, I just wanted to note that we have some additional documentation from the applicants. They did send, I think, their RDA and the project to MISA for review. And they got a letter back, which I'm happy to share, but MISA said that there would be no take of in this habitat, which is apparently habitat for the bald eagle, which is living on Lake Shirley.
Right, they moved.
Thank you, Nadia. Ryan, you have something new to add here? You have your hand up.
Commissioner, I just forgot to lower my hand.
That's all right. It's 7:47. We're gonna call on Rich Birch and Jeff Viviano. Rich Birch first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did have a couple quick comments. The applicants did put forth a plan in their first application. That was very specific. It had dimensions, it had placement. We were on site with him. To say that somehow the commission misinterpreted his initial application, I think is a gross miscommunication on his part. He's the one that set forth that plan, and he clearly did not follow it. When he deviated from it, he clearly did not contact the office with any questions or concerns. And in Mr. Tremblay's last photograph of the dock, it appears that the dock does not conform with the plan that was presented either. There are 3 sections going out, not 2, off of the mainland out to the 120 square foot landing. And I still have grave concerns. So we have 200 square feet of stairs and decking that are here on this slope piece of property, impeding any further plant development. There's also over 200 square feet of dock out in the water that will be retracted onto the land afterwards. So I still am fairly concerned that we're going to be trampling more plant material and more banking and opening it up to more erosion when we bring the additional 200 square feet of dock back in from the water. So I do think commissioners should relook at this. I don't think it should be expanded at all from what was approved. And I think that the commission did do its due diligence. The plan was presented by him and his application should have been followed because that was what was approved. There was no discussion of, well, I may go 2 feet here, I may go 2 feet there. So I think it is a bad precedence to set that we just continue to expand this violation after we've had the applicant and the application and the plan on what he was going to do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Richard. Jeff Viviano.
Yeah, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's many lots, as we all know, on this side of the lake. I believe there's 5 of them, and this was kind of the first one that was put forth to, at least new construction wise, to put in stairs and decking areas. And I kind of have to completely agree with Paula Bertram with, you know, I live on the lake, and there's just a lot of foot traffic down on the lake side of these lots. You know, at times you'll see 6 or 8 people just kind of roaming around. I think if there's a deck down there, which is why I was kind of for something, you know, to this design, although it wasn't built as designed, is to keep that foot traffic off of that steep bank, which will actually maintain that bank better, having the decking above the bank instead of the foot traffic on the bank itself, with it being so steep. But it's tough. We kind of use this as the boilerplate, and the boilerplate was the top section was 7 by 10, the bottom section is 6 by 8. It's 118 square feet. So the people that applied for these type of decking and stair areas going down these banks, we kind of set that as 120 square feet of decking and stairs to access the lake. So that would be a 12 by 10 deck and some stairs. So you have a 12 by 10 deck to kind of hang out on, and then you can put it up the bank, you can put it on the shore. You know, we didn't really say where it needed to really go. So I guess we've already set that kind of, you know, precedent with this first application, let's call it, of 120 square feet and the stairs going down to the water, which this design met, and then a rolling dock. And in this situation, it looks like that rolling dock, it's fairly shallow. And with the lake drawdown, I think they can just kind of stack up those sections close to the shoreline. In the winter, I really don't think it has to come up on the bank itself. They can easily just put down, it's all rocky down in there, and it's not really going to erode anything down in there. It's nice and firm on that shoreline specifically, which is kind of why we need to look at each specific lot and not just, you know, say this needs to be exactly how it is for every lot. But although you know, to kind of sum up, although I think it's built very nicely, and it'll keep that foot traffic off of this to the best extent. And I think there was, you know, minimal, I guess, encroachment on that property to build this structure. There's no concrete footings. It's just placed on little, you know, 10 by 10 little wooden platforms for the 4 by 4 pillars going onto those platforms. So I'm not saying that I disagree with what was built. I would most likely support it as built if that's what it was designed, but unfortunately that's not what was designed, and that's not what was approved. So in my opinion, we really need to go with that 120 square feet and stairs down to the water. So with that top section being, I don't know, I think it was 11 by 8, and the bottom section being 15 by 8, you know, close to that. Those are pretty close to 120 square feet. So I'm not sure if the applicant would be willing to take out one of the platforms, and at least they'd have one of those decking areas to kind of relax and put some chairs on. But unfortunately, if we do tell them that they need to take one of the decking areas away, they're just going to be on the land. So then you're going to have all sorts of erosion. So it's going to be difficult to decide, but I'm not against what they built, but I think this commission itself has already kind of shown that they're going to support what was designed, not what was built. So those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Going back to Rich Birch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify one thing that Jeff just said, and you should address it. The commission is not condoning, recommending, or saying that any landowner can store property on the drawdown lake bed. I believe I heard Jeff say that they could store their dock on the lake bed once the drawdown came. And I just want to make sure that we're clear where we've had discussions tonight by the applicant about our communication. So I just want clarity on that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Rich. I have a couple some comments here. Number one, this application was originally approved 4-1. Rich voted against it. Jack and I weren't there, and the other 4 commissioners voted for it. And so any idea that you know, this wouldn't be allowed at all is water over the dam, because certainly they are allowed, they've been permitted by a vote of 4-1 with 2 people not there to put in the original design. 2, it was built bigger than the original design, and it was built over the water. And so we're perfectly within our rights and to take and say, you have to take and build it the way it was originally proposed. 3, though, I do agree with Jeff and Paula's comments that if they start walking on the land down there, you know, because we've made them take away the deck, that's counterproductive to the environment. So I'm all over the place on this. On the one hand, it clearly wasn't built the way it should have been. On the other hand, if we make them take it away, I think it will degrade the environment in the long run. And tonight, Ryan asked us not to rush on this. We've consumed an hour of meeting on this already. We haven't even started our public hearings. So I'm a little concerned about that. I'm very concerned about that. So I think we'll do a straw poll about, you know, what do you think should happen now? And we're going to start in order the way I got you on my keyboard here. Rich Birch, what do you think should happen now?
As you stated, I was not in favor of it for multiple reasons. At this point, I would love to see it taken out completely, but the commission approved the original plan. I think it should go back to the original plan. Any construction or materials that are left on the lake floor, whether it's during drawdown or during fill up, have to be removed. That was clearly not approved in the original application.
Thank you, Rich. Jeff.
I'm kind of the same as you, Bob. It's really difficult, but we said it's 120 square feet and stairs. If we stick with that, then I think losing one of those decking areas, an easy way to do it would just to be, as you're going down the stairs towards the water, just that whole left side, just cut it and put a railing up out to the dock and cut that flush with the shoreline and put some 4x4s. It looks like they'll only be a few inches long to shore it up on that shoreline on land, not in the water. But I wouldn't be opposed to leaving it as built. The only issue with that is that we have to go back to the other owners on that area, and maybe many other owners in town, to say that, you know, you can do this many square feet now and stairs. So it's a difficult one.
Thank you, Jeff. Patty Adams.
I am conflicted as you are, Bob, because I can see both sides of the story. I think I was one of the people that voted it for it, but they did exceed what they said they were going to build. So I think that they do need it there so that they can enjoy the lake access. But I do think that if they needed to take off some of the extensions to make it fit closer to the original design, I wouldn't be opposed to that either.
Thank you, Patty. Mike LaRouche.
I was one of the original commissioners to vote for this. And if I knew then what I knew now, I would not have voted on this. And it seems as if we, as the Conservation Commission, we are the voice of the wetlands in our town. Without us, the wetlands has no voice. And for any applicant to ask us to disregard the wetlands voice, to me, is really asking us to not do our jobs. So, and the notion about if you take away decks, things are going to be trampled on. As a commissioner, I'm going to say, hey, you need to revegetate where you've removed whatever decking to kind of restore that embankment to where it was or greater than, because of the actions of the applicant. He seems like a very nice person, and I don't mean to be harsh. However, we are the voice of the wetlands, and without our voice speaking for the wetlands, what's the point of us being here? That's all I have to say.
So Mike, so what do you think should be done about this application, about this enforcement action?
As Rich Birch has said,
Yeah,
and what Jack Rabbit has said, to bring this thing back to the original approval and go from there. It seems as if the lack of the applicant's preparation in this project seems to be forcing us to do an emergency on his behalf, and that's really not where we should be.
thank you, Mike. Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am absolutely in support of Rich's proposal. Take it back to what was originally designed. That's what the committee did approve. And at the same time, just a quick question. Rich, your picture towards the end showed a stump that was cut right at the water line, pretty close to it, like a second or third up. It looked like a pine that had been taken out. Was that approved by the committee? You guys let a tree come down at the water line?
Jack, what picture? Maybe I can. put it
Okay,
back up.
go towards the very end. I think it's like the second or third from the last, and it shows the footing right by the water's edge, and looks like a pine that had been cut down right at the edge. Keep going the other way.
This way.
And a little further, right there.
Oh.
Right there. I'm not.
Right here?
Okay. Yeah, is that a piece of pine? Is that a piece of log or something that's been cut?
Not sure.
It sure looks like it. Were there any trees removed at the water line that size?
That,
I can respond, Mr. Commissioner.
Rich, can you just go to your
go
next
ahead,
picture
Ryan.
showing the dock?
So I was gonna say, we only removed 2 trees, which were approved, and they were not that big. They were maybe 4 inches. One of them was dead.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Given that, I'm looking for a, Rich, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion based on what I heard in the straw poll to direct the applicant to bring the deck back into compliance with the plan that was approved.
No moved.
Second.
We have a
Mr.
motion
Chair,
and a second. Further discussion.
yeah, Mr. Chair, can I just ask that the dock be brought back into compliance with the application as well, if it's not?
That we bringing the thing back in compliance with the plan that was approved.
The dock as well, yes.
The dock as well, the stairs and the dock.
Yep.
Mr. Commissioner, can I respond to that? particular
No,
point?
Ryan,
Sorry.
we're in the middle of a motion here.
Sorry,
I'm
sir.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
can we make it an option? I mean, maybe the client, I think it would be a lot less disturbance if one of these was just taken out and not to tear this whole project down and start over. I think that would be detrimental to this. So, I mean, if the applicant wants to keep one of the platforms, would that be an option, I guess? Just to make it easier on that bank?
Mr. Chair, if I might help
go-
Jeff's position, if the applicant is not, has a plan other than what was approved, he should submit it at next meeting or later meeting.
Yeah, I agree, Rich. You know, if the applicant thinks that there's a better plan that would be more consistent, but not exceed the square footage of the original approved plan, I think the commission, you know, should at least take a look at that at a future meeting. There any other further discussion from commissioners? Then I'm going to do a roll call vote. Rich Birch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
I'm sorry, aye.
Patty Adams,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Jack Rabbit,
Aye.
and I for myself. Any questions, Ryan? I know you must be very unhappy right now.
When will be available for the next meeting? Because we're gonna have to keep council.
So just on the doc, we did send the message to Matt. We consulted with Matt, so we did do that communication appropriately. And I think if we move forward with this, I am both disappointed and frustrated, and we will probably have to seek counsel on it.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know. Thank you. We're going to move on to our first public hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing will be held on a notice of intent by Ed McSweeney for the construction of a single-family home, garage and driveway at Lot 3, Holman Street.
So this is Nadia,
Yeah.
and I've been in contact with Ed McSweeney. There have been some issues with a butter notification, and I think the application is really not complete until they get worked out. I'm currently working with the applicant on notifying some of the butters who are not, it just that butters on the lot were not correctly identified, and some people are missing. And so they are re-notifying the butters, and we'll be opening these, I think, on the July 6th meeting.
So, Nadia, are we going to open the hearing and continue it, or are we going to not? Or are you going to re-advertise it that it's going to start a different night?
Yeah, we're going to I think they're going to re-contact the abutters and let them know the exact night when it's starting, which will be at the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Jack Rabbit,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been notified by some of the local neighbors that construction has already begun on the two sites. Is that have we approved construction on those sites and the work begun to be begun?
So I've also talked, if these are the same abutters, I've actually talked to these neighbors, and we worked out, they are talking about a different site, which is further south on Holman Street. It has to do with that there's a lot 3 on Holman Street
Right.
that's already being developed, that we already have an open order of conditions on. And
Okay.
that, yes, there's construction there. This is
Right.
also a lot 3, so I think there was some lack of clarity in how that was advertised.
They responded to the ledger and they said 3 and I believe 3 and 4. But if you've spoken to the folks that I'm thinking you might have spoken to, and if that's satisfactory and there was no work begun, I don't have a problem.
thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Rich Birch has his hand up.
I guess I just want a quick clarification. If the hearings are not open this evening due to incomplete abutter notification, I believe they have to be re-advertised.
Yeah, Nadia, I mean, we either got to open the hearing tonight, or they got to start over with new advertisements, which is it gonna?
So you can also, I think you can also open and continue.
Yes,
That
and
is
that-
possible.
And I think that is, based on my somewhat humble knowledge of the process, I think that's our safest course of action.
Yeah, we'll just need clarification on if the butters aren't notified, then I don't think the advertising is complete. Therefore, I don't think, we can certainly open them and continue them, but I think it'll have to be re-advertised, but Nadia might have to just look into that a little deeper.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's properly advertised. We can't open it, but we can open it just in case I'm incorrect.
Well, maybe we won't open it then. I'm looking for a motion to continue this hearing. I read the notice. I'm looking for a motion to continue until the next meeting, if indeed this is a valid public hearing.
So moved.
Motion to continue until, I believe it's July 6th is the next meeting.
Yep, July 6th. Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, Rich,
All right,
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
aye for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Ed McSweeney for the construction of a well on a water line in the buffer zone at Lot A Northfield Road. Same deal, Nadia?
Yes.
I'm looking for a motion to continue until July 6th.
no move.
Second.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Roll call, Rich,
All right,
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
aye for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaw. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Ed McSweeney for the construction of a single-family home, garage and driveway at Lot 4 Holman Street. Same deal, Nadia?
Yes, and I would request if you can, I'm still quite new to the commission, if you can let me know who moved and who seconded. We have that in the recording. That would be super helpful.
All right. You need it for the last motion?
I think Rich moved, but I don't know who seconded.
Oh, that was me, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to continue.
no move till July 6th.
To continue, Rich motion, who seconded?
I did. Mike.
Mike
Second.
Lewis seconded. Roll call, Rich,
All right,
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
aye for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, as a Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for a request for determination and a bylaw waiver request by Dan Dugas for the extension overhang of an existing roof at 60 South Row Road. I'm pretty sure I saw Mr. Dugas here. Yes, I do. Unmute yourself, Mr. Dugas.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and so, Nadia, do you want to share his plans? Mr. Dugas, do you want to share your plans? How do we do this?
It's 46 inches. I have an overhang over my front door,
Yeah,
and I tore it down, and extended it across the front of my house. It looks like that.
how far up from the house does it stick?
How far out from the house? 46 inches.
46 inches.
Yes.
Well, I think that probably was actually stated before.
Okay.
And
Yeah, are you ready for this? I'm like fastening seatbelts. So I'm like, oh no, this is a loaded question. I'm like, I said, Dad, I'm gonna think about this.
and so
And he said,
this has already happened. You're asking for a retroactive approval?
Yes.
Nadia, do we have a diagram that shows where this is relative to the resource area? Into the 30-foot and the 50-foot and all that other good stuff? Oh, look at that.
I'm the only one that hears the conversation about wearing my seatbelt.
No,
I'm hearing it too.
I am.
I'm hearing it too, and I can't figure out who it's coming from.
and
Because there's not that many people who are not muted.
oh, yeah, so you guys.
I think it's Dan Dugas in the background there.
Okay.
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, but I'm glad because like.
You got somebody else in the room with you, Dan?
Honey, can you talk on the phone in the other room, please?
Yeah.
it's bothering us. Sorry.
That's all right. So where's how far from the water is this?
25 feet.
25 feet.
Yeah.
Eek.
And down in the lower, at the far lower right, is that where the original overhang was?
Yes.
And then you took and you extended it all the way up.
Yes.
And down where it originally was, how far from the water is it there? 'Cause
Probably
I'm looking, it looks like it's
35
maybe,
feet.
I
35.
mean, this dimension just to the right of it says 46 feet. You know, from the corner of the lake down to whatever that other thing is down there, I'm not quite sure. That says 46 feet, so I would think it'd be about 46 feet to the far corner.
Okay. That's possible.
All right, so comments or questions from commissioners?
Do we have the actual measurement?
No, I'm gonna be thinking we need to take and see the 30 and the 50 on this plan. Comments or
Bob,
questions?
can I make a suggestion?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Anything within 50 needs to be taken down.
How much?
Within
50
50,
feet from the water.
50 feet?
yeah.
Yep.
Well,
I would agree, Mr. Chair.
what was there already was within 50 feet. And that's when I bought the house, it was already there.
Well, that can stay, I believe, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Other comments or questions from, commissioners?
Just helps out with the shade because I had to have those trees removed.
This is an RDA. Rich Birch.
I would agree with Jeff. Any existing construction that was there can stay or be improved. Anything new that's within the 50 foot, which I think pretty much the whole area is, as you were pointing to the corner of the septic system that was 46 feet. If it is a shade issue, he can always amend for perhaps lattice work or something that is not an impervious roof covering to help with the shade. Thank you.
That's an excellent suggestion.
What is that?
That you put up something that's not pervious to help with the shade.
Oh, it comes down,
Yeah.
goes up? Okay.
No, by pervious, that's not impervious, okay, that as in water goes through it.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Mr. Chair,
Jeff Fabiano.
so you could, for example, you could take a 2x4 and stand it on edge and put them every 8 inches, 10 inches, and then you would have some shade unless the sun's directly over you. So like that would be I guess an example of lattice.
Pergola.
Okay.
Pergola, exactly.
Yeah, you could do a pergola and
Okay.
put you know, some kind of vines or something on it. That would be
All right.
total, you know.
Okay, as long as water can go through it.
Yep.
Okay.
But what you got there has got to come down,
Okay.
according to what I've heard so far. We've had no votes yet, but you know, that's the direction we're headed at this moment in time.
Okay.
Other comments or questions from commissioners? Any comments or questions from members of the public? So Rich or Nadia, would we do a positive determination and tell them that it's and say it's got to come down, or we would just tell them it's got to come down? What's the right thing to do here?
Mr. Dugas, are you gonna resubmit with a different roof structure?
I was hoping to take it down little by little and maybe put the vines up like you said.
Okay,
Just take
you would
the-
have
the
to either
plywood
submit
off.
you'd either
Yeah.
have to submit a plan for your new roof construction.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
if you did that under the current application, or if we vote on it tonight, that'll close this application and you have to refile.
So after listening to Mr. Bursch, I'm suggesting, Mr. Dugas, that we take and we continue this hearing and that you think about what you want to do there, submit an
Okay.
amended plan, and we take it up again on July 6th.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
All right. so
Mr.
I'm looking-
Chairman,
Jeff,
I was just looking at the picture again. An easy solution is just to take the roof off and leave the bones in there. But
Yep.
just a
Yeah.
suggestion.
That's what I was thinking.
yep.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other comments or questions from commissioners or members of the public before we take a vote? I'm looking, John Fortune.
Yes, I would just suggest that for that corner of the building, he get an accurate measurement to the high water mark. So you know exactly what the distance is.
From the corner,
Yes,
it's 25 feet exactly from the very corner of the overhang that's there.
oh, okay, so there is an accurate measure, it's just not on the plan.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and so, Mr. Dugas, when you come back on July 6th, with your amended plan, if you could take and put up the shortest distance from each corner of the existing 3-bedroom house that faces the lake, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Okay?
Could you say that again? I'm sorry.
In other words, if you could take and show on the plan, what's the distance from the corner of the house, nearest the lake, and what's the distance, from the yellow corner of the house where the original overhang was to the lake.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
I'm looking for a motion to continue until July 6th.
So moved.
So moved by
moved.
Jeff.
Second by Mike.
Okay, so I heard several motions. We're gonna say it was moved by Jeff and seconded by Mike, even though Patty was in there too. And we're gonna do a roll call vote. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you. Nadia, can you please stop sharing your screen? Thank you, Nadia, for all you do. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Lunenburg Wetlands Bylaw and Regulations as listed in Chapter 239, a public hearing on a notice of intent, DEP number 208-1260 from V&V Lunenburg LLC for the redevelopment of a restaurant to a marijuana retail facility within the riverfront at 42 Summer Street. What are we doing with this application tonight, Nadia?
They requested another continuation at this time.
Oh, wonderful. Seeing how it's already 8:23. Looking for a motion to continue.
So moved by Jeff.
Second by Mike.
I love that. All right, roll call. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
and I for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, on Lunenburg Wetlands Bylaw and Regulations is listed in Chapter 239, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Hickory Hills Association for the approval of a whole lake management plan at Hickory Hills Lake at Townsend Harbor Road. And I know Paula is here.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, go ahead, Paula.
I'm hoping that you received an addendum that I had submitted to the Conservation Commission office, and myself and John Fortune are here tonight from Hickory Hills Board of Directors. The addendum, which is 8 pages, is a list of the lake management techniques that we would like to implement or continue. So for prevention of invasive species, we plan to continue our road inspection process. For fanwort control, we plan to continue our surveying. We have many volunteers who survey the lake. We call them topside surveys if they do it from the boat. And then we have an underwater scuba dive team that they survey as well as hand pull the fanwort if they find it and the roots of fanwort. This would be done in areas that are less than 1/4 of an acre or about 10,000 square feet. And we, as we have in the past, we will continue to track those locations and report that to the Conservation Commission annually. In areas where the fanwort growth exceeds 1/4 of an acre, it is the position of our consultant ESS group that then it would be appropriate to use an herbicide. There are 2 herbicides that we would be using. One is fluoridone, which is the herbicide that we used for the full lake treatment in 2020. And it's a systemic herbicide that reduces photosynthesis and eventually starves the plant. We would be using both liquid form and granular form. And it would be at the concentration recommended by the licensed herbicide applicator. But it would be approximately 30 parts per billion based on our experience of spot treatments in the past. We would notify the conservation at whatever time frame the Conservation Commission desires, and the proposed concentration based on the experts prior to application. Flumoxazine, which is the common name is Clipper, but there are many variables out there now. But this is a broad spectrum contact herbicide, and it would be appropriate in areas of fanwort infestation less than 1/4 of an acre. But our hope is that we can control it with the hand harvesting. Hand pulling, as I said, we're planning for the divers to hand pull. However, hand pulling is also appropriate by volunteers in areas where it's less than waist high. So we would like to continue doing that. Benthic barriers, which is a technique we have used in the past and with the Conservation Commission approval have made available to homeowners. We would like to continue that for homeowner use, and that material is burlap. So it will self-degrade on its own and not cause a problem with the lake bottom. We have provided a list of properties to the commission annually of any deployments, and we would continue to do so. Drawdown, I'm going to skip for now and have John talk to that because that's his area of expertise. The Amazamox is a systemic herbicide. And that would be used for American lotus if we are not able to control it. Currently, we are removing the seed pods and the flowers and any leaves that appear. We are sincerely hoping that we can continue to control this plant and eventually eradicate it by doing so. Obviously, if we were to treat, we would notify the commission and come back, with the concentrations. Additionally, Amazamox would be used in areas that we have dense weed growth. Our lake's annual vegetation survey, which we do regularly, is scheduled for Thursday. So we will have a much better idea of any areas that we would need to treat. The areas we would propose to use that would be, they would exceed 75% of cover. It's a foliar application, so it's put directly on the plants. It's not introduced to the water. Dicot is also a plant to control nuisance vegetation, and it would be applied at a rate of 1 to 2 gallons per surface water acre. per 2 feet of water depth. Again, appropriate concentrations would be determined by a licensed applicator and supplied to the Conservation Commission before use. Hydro raking, where I'm on page 4, in case you. Hydro raking in areas that exceed 75% of cover, hydro raking may be appropriate after a full survey to determine the absence of fanwort or other invasive species. The area would be surveyed by both topside surveyors and divers. Details on areas to be raked would be provided to the Conservation Commission. We have raked areas of the lake in the past with the Conservation Commission's approval. Stormwater maintenance, we are continuing to work with the town. Currently, there are 3 plunge pools on the main lake and 1 at Little Hickory. Basically, these are small depressions filled with trap rock to capture sediment coming out of the outfalls. Unfortunately, we have many outfalls that discharge stormwater directly to the lake. So we've been working with the town to put those in as well as to maintain them, and we hope to continue to be able to work with the town. We have put together a stormwater group and a stormwater outreach program, and they are working with our consultant to evaluate the required sizing of the existing plunge pools to make sure that they're the appropriate size for the area that they're serving. So at the end of this contract, we will get a table summarizing the outfall sizing results and a map showing the drainage areas that they serve. So if enlargement of the plunge pools is recommended, we would come back to you. But right now, we're just looking at maintaining the 4 existing plunge pools. There are 2 areas that we've identified as problem areas. One is a stormwater structure at 5, excuse me one second. One is a stormwater structure at number 513, is stormwater structure 513 at 20 Sandy Cove Road. This pipe, and it may have been modified by a prior property owner, but it discharges a great amount of sediment, causing heavy vegetation in that area. If we do come back, we don't have a solution for that area right now, and we recognize that we would have to come back with an RGA or an NOI for that improvement. Additionally, there's erosion occurring on the causeway of South Row Road, and we're hoping to work with the town. I did meet with Mark Bursch of Lakeview Landscaping several years ago, and he had proposed to put basically a swale to direct the water away from directly discharging into Little Hickory. In 2019, we did do a rain garden, and the plants are thriving. However, there's a lot of pooling happening, so we may need to adjust some of the grade there. We would submit a plan showing those modifications, and as with every other lake activity, we would provide an update annually. Stormwater testing, we are currently doing a stormwater testing program. We are collecting numerous samples from various locations around the lake, and the lake management plan included those locations. We're tracking those results. ESS, at the end of our contract with ESS, they will summarize the results and prepare a report summarizing the findings along with recommendations to improve stormwater quality entering the lake. We would provide the testing data and the recommendations to the commission and submit additional paperwork to move forward with those recommendations if it's feasible. Geese control, we have a significant population of geese on the lake. So we have an addling program. This is the 2nd year of that program. We expect to continue that. We have encouraged residents to put up temporary fencing, basically the wire garden pickets that you can buy, and sticking those in. Some homeowners have put in, removable stakes with a line across them to keep geese off of their property. One interesting fact is that one goose deposits 1.5 to 2 pounds of effluent every day. And that may be contributing to the high phosphorus levels that we're seeing in the lake. We are proposing to put a temporary fence of stakes and wire along the earthen dam to discourage geese. If anybody's ever walked along the dam, the dam is literally covered with geese feces. So we're looking to discourage that. Obviously, when it rains, all of that washes right back into the lake. According to our consultant, if you discourage geese calculation, they will find another place to go. So that's our hope. We have sent out numerous flyers to residents encouraging them not to feed geese, and put up temporary fencing. Some are doing sound devices, some are doing decoys. One person has a fake coyote. So, and in the lake management plan, some of those articles are included. We have a water quality testing program ongoing, and this includes the water quality testing that was required for drawdown. And the lake management plan and the addendum list the parameters that we're proposing and continuing to test for. Actually, the next round of testing will be on Monday. The E. coli is at the beaches is conducted regularly during the summer months by the Board of Health. But we're also going to be testing selected stormwater outfalls for E. coli. And Carl Strathmeyer is here tonight, so if you have any questions on stormwater, he is one of the stormwater chairs. In addition, in August, we do a round of testing at various locations around the lake as detailed in the addendum. And that's just to give us an idea of the overall lake quality and to be able to react to changes as we see them. For aeration, we are planning to continue to operate the aeration system at Little Hickory, and that will go on indefinitely. We've seen significant improvement in the water quality at Little Hickory since the aeration system was installed. Algae control. Algae has been a significant problem over the last couple of years. Little Hickory, we've applied polyaluminum chloride twice to Little Hickory, and it's been very successful at controlling algae blooms. We haven't had one since we started that program, and we would like to continue that program at Little Hickory. Additionally, we have seen significant algae at one of our beaches at Hemlock Beach. Hemlock Beach is a very isolated cove, and we've had a lot of algae problems there, so we would like to be able to apply a pack treatment there as well. Polyaluminum chloride is a great solution because it doesn't kill it doesn't kill any algae. It actually binds with the phosphorus and puts it into the sediment layer, and it binds permanently, so it's not released into the water column. So we would like to apply those alum treatments at Little Hickory and Hemlock Beach as soon as possible to prevent an algae bloom from occurring. Copper sulfate is a last resort. We did do a copper sulfate treatment at one time because of a toxic algae plume that we had on the lake. Our goal is obviously not to be there again. That is our hope. But in the event that we did have another blue-green algae bloom, we would come back to the Conservation Commission and seek permission for treatment with copper sulfate. Again, that is something we hope will not happen. Sonication, we have an individual over at 110 Royal Fern Drive who is willing to try this technology. The one issue that we have is this type of technology requires electricity. So they are the aeration system does too. And what we do as a corporation is someone graciously hosts the aeration system compressor and components in their shed, and then the corporation pays for electricity. And if this is proven successful, we would do the same thing. But this is a very isolated cove that actually is seeing a very dense filamentous algae bloom right now. I went out there to take a look at it the other day, and when you put the paddle in the water, it literally comes up with just filamentous algae dripping off of it. So this is an area we want to see if sonication has any impact. We did buy a skimmer a couple of years ago, as we explained in our 2021 update. And basically that just skims non-toxic algae off the surface. And we have purchased a couple of those that are available to residents to skim. Barley straw is something we would like to try. We don't have a definitive plan or a volunteer right now to implement that. So if we did want to try that technology, we would come back with an RDA. Let's see. Erosion, we are planning to continue our erosion control methods with core logs, rocks, and wooden poles that pop up in the lake. They're in the lake already, so we're trying to put them to good use. Basically, we're trying to stabilize undercut shorelines. And in some areas, we replant with native vegetation. We try to do approximately 200 feet of shoreline yearly. And those efforts are, we want to continue with those efforts. And finally, we are proposing the use of beneficial bacteria again. Some members may remember that several years ago, we were testing muck pellets. Unfortunately, we were not doing them correctly. So we now want to try them again. We have 2 sites identified, one in front of 17 Crescent Road on Little Hickory, and the other in front of 379 Townsend Harbor Road on the main lake. And we're proposing to basically mark off areas of 15 by 15. And we would apply the pellets in the ratio recommended by the manufacturer, which is aqua clear pellets. And basically it's a microbe that eats, they're microorganisms that eat and use the nitrogen and phosphorus. So that's, we would like to try that again. The application would occur weekly for 4 weeks, and we would be measuring the sediment depths and graphing that during the testing period. And then after the 4 weeks, it would be monthly, but obviously summer season is short, so I'm not quite sure how long we would be able to continue to treat. I guess it will depend on the water temperature and Mother Nature. But we would graph that information and provide it to the Conservation Commission in our annual update. Hickory Hills has provided annual updates to the commission regularly since our initial lake management plan, which was back in 2016. And I did send some samples of those presentations along in my email with the addendum. Our big concern right now is fanwort. Fanwort obviously is our #1 concern. Fanwort grows very, very quickly. It can spread from a small sliver of a plant and take over areas extremely quickly. It can grow up to 1 inch a day. So we would like to move forward with our diver assisted suction harvesting plan as soon as the plants are visible. And additionally, we would like to apply the pack treatment to Little Hickory and Hemlock as soon as possible, because if the weather continues to warm up, it's likely going to be too late to prevent an algae bloom. So those are our 2 priorities, but I'm going to turn it back over to John so he can cover the drawdown section. John?
Sure. I think I'm unmuted. Yep. Okay. Drawdown. So I think as we've talked about in the past, and certainly have gotten approval for, we continue with a maximum 4-foot drawdown. We have we initially bring the lake down 18 inches by removal of the boards on the dam. And once that is down and November 1st is upon us, so we start that at the beginning of October. And then DEP allows us to turn the siphons on to continue to draw down on November 1st. That's when we start. And where the lake gets to by December 1st, that's where we hold. So we do the level reduction is usually less than 2 inches a day, assuring that our small lake animals species along the shoreline can get to deeper waters.
Excuse me, John, Nadia, or I'm not sure who's sharing, but that is not the current addendum. I sent another one this morning that has additional details about drawdown.
Hi, Paula, I'm sorry, that was, I was not able to have that today. I was out of the office for. a day.
Okay, so if it's
Can I
okay,
share my
could I
screen?
share, yeah, if John could share his screen.
And if you could please, yeah, thank you. Stop sharing.
All right.
Paula, how can we tell which one we're looking at? I had printed one out.
It was sent this morning to LCC, and actually to you individually. If you look at page 2, page 3 will have the biomass removal statistics.
Yep, got it. All right,
It
thank
will
you.
have, yeah, so
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, so I believe you can see my screen now. Is
Yep.
that correct? I can see it. I hope you can see it. So what I talked about just now was really pretty much the first paragraph on that. So our goal when we go to a drawdown is to maintain the lake level at the lowered level through the beginning of February or to the beginning of February, sometime right in there, depending on the weather. As you know, volunteers do all this work. So our utmost importance is making sure that people are safe when they're on the dam. But anyways, at that point, we begin to slow the siphons or reduce the siphoning, leaving a couple siphons running as the water comes back up. 1 to 2 siphons are running. And so that brings the lake up slower, keeps the ice safer on the edges if there is ice. And the lake so far has always been, usually it takes about a month to a month and a half to get the lake back up to full, which is water flowing over the concrete. All right. So that's the existing order of conditions, and we're acting to extend that as part of this lake management plan. We talk a little bit about biomass removal here. As you know, we took a significant amount of sediment out in 2018 and 19, along with fanwort. We have been lucky that after the work that we did on the lake to reduce the fanwort problem, we dropped the amount of we were taking out as well, because it was basically had been wiped out. But also the sediment, as you well know, once you've taken it out, it takes a long time to get it back. And so we see a reduction in the amount of sediment that we take out every year. And I would tell you personally, in my shoreline or my little cove, it's mostly leaves that I take out now in the fall versus any sediment. So I'm including leaves as part of the sediment, but that's what we see. And I know there's others around the lake that have the same issue. So failure to refill the maximum lake load has been achieved. We believe the way that we do this program and all the statistics that we found before we started the program will always allow us to achieve a refill. Now, that's not like there's nothing that's 100%. We all know that. But statistically, it would be difficult not to refill the lake in the amount of time that we give it. Dam erosion, we maintain our dam and it's inspected every other year. We just had an inspection at the end of last year, October of last year, and no evidence of any dam erosion or anything like that along the edges were observed. We talked to Ty and Bond, and that was part of our original presentation of drawdown. And they said as long as it's brought down slowly, they do not expect any problems with the dam during drawdown as well. And the reason it needs to be brought down slowly is water comes back out of the dam. So, anyways, that has worked well for us. Shallow wells, we did during the concrete work that we did a year and a half ago. We needed to pull down the lake a little bit further than 4 feet because of a hole in the concrete that we observed once the water level was down. We did that. It was down for about 48 hours to fill that hole and then went back up again. As a result, we started, one of our residents had a well problem, a shallow well problem. We brought it back up and the problem went away. So we know that 4 feet is a good number for us. When we originally talked about drawdown, we talked about going deeper than that. And right now, it doesn't feel like we would be able to do that without negatively affecting at least one resident. We talked about algae blooms. So I think Paula went over that enough. stumps, there are stumps in our lake. They tend to get moved or pushed around with the ice during the winter, and that happens. I have one that showed up in my cove here recently, but we do mark those if they are standing in some of the snowmobile lanes or things like that with orange markers through the winter. And the trick is to get out and put them in when the ice is safe, and then get back out and take them out. So that's always a little bit difficult, but we do mark those. We do conduct a yearly vegetation survey, so we're checking the edges as well as the deeper parts of the lake. I would tell you that actually, I think as you well know, Jack was part of the original drawdown team. We have each taken individual areas that we spot and have marked to watch vegetation. The biggest change in the vegetation we have seen really is from the work that we did to eliminate the fanwort. That has made a big difference on other weeds as well. So I don't believe there is a negative effect on weeds on the 4 foot of drawdown that we do. And our data in our vegetation surveys continue to prove that. Let's see. So we do the mollusk program. To date, there's no significant measured impact on aquatic species that have been observed. We have had some residents to say that, it's terrible that their mollusks and things are being wiped out. But that is speculation as much as anything. And there is no measured data that proves that at this point. As we all know, the mollusks go down into the mud and stay there. We don't significantly drain any coves at a 4 foot drawdown. There's still wet mud on the bottom of all coves. The squishy lake perimeter, that's really, we talked about, that happens regardless of whether we do a drawdown or not. There are years when the lake doesn't freeze. There are years when the lake has a squishy edge because of rain or whatever that happens during the middle of winter. But we do try hard to manage that and move the lake, the ice, slowly up or down as it forms. And we do take measurements as well, oxygen level measurements in the winter. We have the equipment to do that now, and so we have been doing that through the ice as well as through the surface of the water during normal time of year when we can get out there. And finally, any changes to fish population. There is no evidence at this point. We have people have seen recently, those of you that are on Facebook have seen some numbers of small fish, sunfish and things like that they've seen dead. I think that's as much a problem with pollen or oxygen in the water along the edges where they stay versus any change that has happened during drawdown. It happens, in other words, it happens much later in the season. It doesn't happen right after the ice thaws. Okay, so that's pretty much a summary of the drawdown section.
Paula, would I be correct in assuming the intent is that this would go into the order of conditions as the activities that wouldn't require any additional application to conservation?
That is certainly up to the commission, but that is absolutely our hope. As noted, there are several circumstances in which we would come back to the commission. For example, if we were proposing to use an herbicide that we've specified in the 4 herbicides we're looking at are flumoxazine, sonar, amazamox, and diquat. Prior to application, we would provide the details to the commission on the parts per billion and the when it would be applied and where it would be applied. So we are looking, obviously it will be up to the commission what conditions you want to place on that, whether it's a week notice, whether it's a 20, whatever notice the commission determines. But these are the activities that we are seeking approval of.
Thank you, Paula. Have you sent this to the DEP reviewer?
I have not. I sent the initial lake management plan, but I can certainly send this along as well. I was just trying to answer the questions from last meeting.
Super, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add to that.
Sure, go ahead, John.
I think one thing of note is we on the board of directors at Hickory Hills are not conservationists, right? We care about our lake. We do the right things that we believe are right, but we are not experts. So we depend on ESS and Carl Nielsen, our expert that's there, but we also depend on the Conservation Commission to help to guide us when we make any movements, especially when it comes to putting chemicals or things like that into the lake. You have far more experience with the lakes in town than we do, and we prefer to work with you and get your approval when we do these things, so we don't make a foolish mistake. So absolutely, we want to make sure that the commission is involved when we go forward with any of these types of things.
Thank you, John. Comments or questions from commissioners? Rich Birch. Rich.
You're muted, Rich.
There we go. Hey, I had a couple quick questions. First, I think where this is a new DEP number and a new application, and we have 3 going on 4 members since the last time Hickory Hills came for approval of their drawdown. With the permission of Hickory Hills, I'd like to have them or have their past application for the drawdown submitted with this application. There was a tremendous amount of information that was in that application that I think would be beneficial to our new members to review. I mean, Bob, you and I and Jack sat here and know a lot of what they're talking about, but I think a lot of the projects and things going on in the lake are new to the other members. So with their permission, I'd like to see that submitted as part of the application for review.
John, if you have that information, honestly, I don't have it all. So if you are able.
Yeah,
to.
I have a presentation, which you should have in your files as well, but
We
can
do.
resend it to you.
Well, I have the one from 2018.
That would be the last one. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. And it was, like I say, I mean, it was over 200 pages of submitted information there that went into your emergency plan and went into the siphons and the environment and protecting the watersheds, and basically was the proper application for the drawdown. So where this is a new application, we have new members, I'd like to see that submitted as well, so members have access and the public has access to that. And like I said, we do have it. I just was looking for your permission for it.
Oh,
Second
absolutely.
question I had on the drawdown listed in moving forward. We were going with a 5-4-3 18-inch plan. And where you seem to have had great success in getting rid of a lot of your muck and biomass along the water's edge, that we try to continue with that at some point in the next year or two. I think it was the 18-inch year, to keep our drawdown varied every year.
Yes, so we had an 18-inch year in between, actually, because we were
Yep.
not able to draw it down.
Okay.
So that was 2019, I believe. So the original request was to ask for 3 years of 4 feet, so we could measure and study the 3 years of 4 feet, then go to 4.5, then to 5, 5.5, and 6. That was kind of what we did, and then we would cycle back through. So we're asking now to maintain the 4 feet and let Mother Nature restrict us when we can't do that. Like I said, that happened, it was at least 2 years ago now, where we're only able to get down to 18 inches. So our request is for 4 feet. And honestly, only 1 year we actually got to 4 feet. All other years it's been less. And that information has been provided back at our year-end summary, or I guess proposal going into the following drawdown year.
Okay. Yep. So I guess I was just suggesting where you're not going to exceed 4 feet. And I know one of the prime objectives was to get rid of the biomass that you had along the water's edge down to the 4-foot line. And with the fan wart being taken care of, we just go 3-4-18, 3-4-18, or not do the same depth every year. So you just didn't have that explained out in the in your list that you submitted today.
Initially, we were seeking the 4 feet, yearly. Certainly will entertain what the commission wants to do. I will note that one of the recommendations of ESF, as articulated in the plan, we've had increasing levels of phosphorus, which is why we've mobilized the Stormwater Task Force. And one of the siphons is deep, and the reason for that is to remove additional phosphorus. So, John, I believe the intent was to continue 4 feet annually, correct?
Well, yes, again, the intent was to continue 4 feet, knowing full well that that doesn't happen every year. Right, that is like, so what would be helpful, I think, for the commission is for us to provide how far we did get. We have gotten since the initial drawdown. So you can see that, with data that says, okay, this year they only got to whatever, 18 or 19 inches, which was only a couple inches below the concrete. So we can provide that.
Okay. Yeah, again,
That
just
was
to vary it, because that was the long-term goal, was to vary. And that is in the GIR, not to have a sustained drawdown to a certain level every year. So I just want, where you don't have it listed, I just want to go back to that, because that you had submitted an addendum to it. So showing the different variations in level, like you were stating, John.
Right. Yep.
Second question I did have, you were commenting, some of your comments as far as residents' opinions versus your opinions. Do you have any data or any surveys at all that you can supply us with that back that up, as far as like the aquatic species and the mollusks and the fish? I mean, it doesn't have to be a scientific survey, but at least something that, if people are coming before us and have questions on that, we can say, well, they submitted a report stating that this is what they found pre and post drawdown or fishing tournaments, just so we have data that we can substantiate our decisions on.
Sure. We have all fishing data. We've
yeah, and I think you submitted that in the past. So
Yep. Okay.
So just want to, again, just clarifying that we're going to have that. One question I did have, Paula, for you was on the PAC treatments.
Yeah.
Do you have any data on the phosphorus levels pre and post application? Just to show that this is, I mean, we have empirical data that we don't have any algae blooms, but
right.
Is that due to weather, or is that actually due to the treatment because we've lowered the phosphate levels?
To be honest with you, Rich, I have to look exactly at the phosphorus levels. I can tell you that with the stormwater testing that we're doing, we're going to have much better data moving forward.
Okay.
But I did include the water testing data that we do have. But certainly, I can't definitively say we've done pre and post, but we certainly can, if that's something the commission wants to require.
That would be my opinion, just again, to verify that the application is actually the reason that, or one of the reasons that the algae is not blooming.
Yeah, I'm going to be going out, depending on when we get our approval, I'm going to be going out Monday to do testing of the deep water in Little Hickory, and I'll also be going out to the main lake, but I can make a point to do testing at Hemlock as well, so that we can have a pre and a post.
Okay, and I guess lastly, Mr. Chair, I would just recommend my own, for myself, that the commission is notified prior to any applications of pesticides or herbicides to the water, or anything that has an EPA registration or an MSDS form for commission approval at a hearing prior to the project moving forward. I think there's sufficient information in here to issue an order of conditions, and we could just treat it as a field change at that time hearing.
So Rich, are you suggesting that the hearing would have to be advertised?
I would think we would treat it as we would a field change hearing. That would be my recommendation, which I believe we at least have an agenda printed.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if others feel, I mean, I certainly don't feel strongly either way, but I don't think putting an ad in the newspaper is a bad idea either, just to make sure that concerned citizens at least have a couple ways of being notified of pesticide treatments in Hickory Hills.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead. Wait, what? Rich, anything else?
Not at this time. I don't believe we have a DEP number, so I do reserve any comments until such
Yep.
time as we get a DEP review. Thank you.
Agreed. First, I'm gonna go to Paul, then we're gonna call Mike Roosh, who's been very patiently waiting.
Just a comment on the advertising. If the commission would like us, to fund and advertise it in the ledger as we did with the initial hearing, that's fine. I would just hope that we don't have to go through the notification of abutters again, because that's extremely costly, and with 26 pages of abutters, it's a big undertaking. Additionally, I wanted to let the commission know anytime we do any kind of lake treatment such as that, we would send out a lake-wide email. Additionally, we would put it on our website, and we would put it on our official Facebook page.
And it also actually, there are notices posted around the lake.
Around the lake, right.
Thank you, Paula. Now we're gonna go to Mike LaRouche.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. John, I just wanted to thank you for extending all of the wealth of knowledge that you've afforded the Conservation Commission. I want to put myself totally at the back of the class here as far as knowledge of all the statistics that you've been giving us today. It's pretty impressive. As a layperson who's not really a water expert, in your findings and in your research and all of the things that you and Paula do together, does Hickory Hills Lake have what's its water quality mark? If you could give it a percentage today versus yesterday versus in the future, can you even establish a water quality mark? How healthy is the lake at this point? Or can you see it in those kinds of terms for us lay people who are just learning?
So there's a couple of answers to that. One, I don't know if you've ever seen freshwater jellyfish.
Yes.
But we have them in the lake, and they are a sign of very clean water. So we have several signs of clean water, but for us, that's not quite enough, right? So we have initiated this water quality testing over the past few years, and as has been mentioned, in dealing with with ESS, Carl Nielsen, he has modified that for us a little bit and made it better for us to be able to implement and do correctly. So, as volunteers, we all started to do our best and found that some of our testing methods and the way that we did it was we weren't, as lay people, not capable of doing it correctly. So, all of that. But that being said, the water quality is, very, very good. We have seen algae in the last couple of years in the main lake. That's new to us. We had, as has been mentioned here, this fanwort that we had honestly was consuming a lot of the phosphorus, and that made the lake much clearer. With that gone, we are depending more now on the lake flushing and us being able to turn over the lake and maintain it in other ways. So that's kind of a negative that we didn't quite expect when we got rid of the fanwort. But all in all, the lake is in pretty decent shape, and our goal is to maintain that.
Thank you very much, John.
I would just add to that, if you were to take a boat around the lake in 2019, the lake was entirely filled with fanwort. Anywhere that you went, there was fanwort. It was choking out the native vegetation. It was affecting aquatic environment. So, I think we're in a better place now. I'm anxious to see what the next vegetation survey shows, because we did see an impact to the native vegetation that we weren't expecting. So we're hoping that will come back back to its normal levels, because none of us want to have a swimming pool. We're all looking for a healthy aquatic environment. But I think you will see from the fishing data that the fish are actually thriving. We have seen an increase in phosphorus, but we are, doing our best to address that. But overall, I would say that the lake right now is in a much better position than it was in 2019.
Agreed.
Thank you very much, Paula.
Anything else, Mike?
No, that's it.
I'm gonna call on Carl Strathmeyer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paula mentioned phosphorus. I would say water quality in the lake is like a B or a B plus. And at this point, we've determined through our stormwater testing that phosphorus inflows to the lake are a major threat to the lake. In other words, they cause the algae blooms, they cause the algae and the weed and the invasive species kind of promulgation there. And that's why in this lake management plan, we have really emphasized stormwater testing. We have to find the sources of phosphorus that are coming into the lake. Our lake only holds water for about 90 days, which is what our consultants have told us. So most of the water in the lake is water that is actually flowing through the lake from incoming stormwater and then going out through the dam and down the Mulpus Brook, right? So I think what we've determined is that our most productive approach to water quality, to answer the commissioner's chairman, right? I mean, the commissioner's question, our most productive and important activity here is to try to find hotspots of phosphorus and nutrient inflow into the lake, track them down and eliminate them. So that's why that's a major part of the lake management plan for this year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Carl, any other comments or questions from commissioners or the members of the public? Then I have a couple comments. One, I agree with John Fortune's comments about the mollusks. I've seen a lot of commentary and assertions on Facebook about, impacts on the mussel population, and there's been absolutely no data to support it that I've seen. And I think it's all, in my personal opinion, it's all speculation. But I don't know how one would accumulate data, to show that the mussels aren't being, impacted by the drawdown. But I've seen no evidence of it, and I live on Hickory Hills Lake. I'm not as Rich Birch seems very interested in having a varied drawdown. I personally am very comfortable with the idea that they go for a 4-foot drawdown and let nature vary the depth of the drawdown, through the rain, various, how much water is coming in. And the other thing I had, Paula, what were the two things you said? You were very interested in doing a pack treatment at Hemlock, and what was the other thing?
So to continue our diver-assisted hand harvesting of fanwort. Our divers are actually out now. They've already started diving, and with fanwort, the earlier you can pull it, the better off you are to avoid fragmentation and avoid spread. So the divers have actually already gone out, I believe, twice, maybe 3 times. I haven't seen any fanwort reports yet. I've been checking the logs regularly, but if we do see a patch of fanwort, we want to be able to pull it, because if we don't and it spreads, we're going to end up with a bigger problem. And we're trying to avoid using chemicals.
Thank you, Paul. I'd like, so we have to continue this because we don't have a DEP number yet. I would expect the DEP would, I would hope that you would send this to this document to the DEP and identify it as your goal would be to have this included in the order of conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So that they understand what it is. And I would urge, we just got this today, or at least I just got it today, urge all the members of the commission to go through it, read through it carefully and see, like do we want to provide some language to flesh out Richard's suggestion that we treat treat the application of chemicals as a field change, that would not require, a new public hearing, notification of abutters, all that stuff. I like that idea, but I think we would need some language, to make that, to read the ambiguity out of that. So those are just my thoughts as one member. If there are no other comments, I guess I'd be looking for a motion to continue until July 6th.
So moved.
Mike LaRouche moved it. Do we have a second? Oh, wait. Rich Birch has his hand up.
I did just have one quick comment on the varying of the drawdown, and that's not opinion. That's been stated in numerous studies done on the lakes, as well as the GEIR from the state. So just to make sure that we are following a varied drawdown schedule, certainly taking into consideration the past drawdown levels from the year prior, but that's not my opinion. That is stated fact that we should be varying this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Rich. I apologize if I intimated that was just your opinion. I mean, but what I'm saying is that I'm comfortable with the approach that they go for 4, and let nature do the varying and see how that works.
Just wanted stated that that's the ultimate goal, is to vary it. That's all, because there's no language to that effect.
So noted. Do we have a motion and a second? I think we did. I think it's time for a roll call vote. Rich Birch.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
Patty.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Jack.
Aye.
And I for myself. So see you July 6th. Paula, did you know about Sean Kelly's bequest?
I'm sorry?
Sean, Sean Kelly?
No?
We'll be discussing that under new business. You might want to stick around for that.
Oh, okay. Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Sure.
John has said he will forward the past presentations for drawdown, just for the new commissioners' information. Is there anything else you need from me as of right now for July 7th?
July 6th, not that I know.
Sorry,
of.
July 6th. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I don't miss something.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Lunenburg Wetlands bylaw and regulations as listed in Chapter 239, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent by Fitchburg Land Property Owner LLC to construct a 36,000 square foot warehouse and distribution facility with parking and stormwater controls at 260 Flula Road. We going to continue this, Nadia?
Yes, I did also want to add, I think at the last meeting, you asked me to start looking into peer review from Graves.
Yep.
I'm in discussion with that and the applicant, but Adam was of the opinion that if we're planning to help release those funds, they needed a vote from the commission on that request for peer review.
All right.
Have that in the record.
So, all right, so before we continue the hearing, can we take, I'm looking for someone to make a motion to request a peer review of the wetlands by Graves Engineering.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
by Rich Birch. We have a second by
Second
Mike.
for Mike.
LaRouche. Roll call, Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack.
Aye.
I for myself. Looking for a motion to continue until July 6th.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Rich, second by Patty Adams. Roll call, Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
I for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 4, Lunenburg Wetlands Protect bylaw and regulations is listed in chapter 239. The Conservation Commission held a public hearing on a request for determination by John Welton for the construction of stairs, a landing, and a dock within a 100-foot buffer zone at 205 Sunset Lane, map 129, lot 68. Do we have someone here representing this application?
Yes.
Ah, John Welton, there we go.
Yes, sir.
All right, John. Do you have something you would like, is there something you would like Nadia to share?
Yes, I did get the okay from Mesa for my plans. I just got that okay. I sent a copy of that to Nadia. I think you guys still have the plans if you want to bring it up again on the screen. I can't do it.
All right. Nadia, would you like to share that screen?
Is the review from Natural Heritage? And then I'll go ahead and share the plans as well. That's the, is there anyone? No, that's the application. All right, so the original plan is still April 19th, the one you submitted before.
There was
That's the
another
plan
one.
you want, John?
There was another one I thought that was updated with the trees that were going to be removed, but I don't know if you have that on.
Is that, let's see, that's that one.
Maybe you never put it up. No.
Could you have a way to, have you emailed that to me?
Not on the computer I'm on, no.
Okay. Let's see. Let me, hold on, let me take a look and see if I have it.
Just put you can put the original plans back on it if you want. That's.
Let's see. Yeah, sorry, I don't have anything previously from you. There probably is something that you sent to Matt.
Yeah.
That wasn't in this, unfortunately. So yeah, I'll put it on. Hold on.
So it's basically what it was. It's just the stairs going down to a landing at 4 feet. Another stairs and then a deck at the bottom, and then my dock's going to go off of the deck. And there's going to be removal of 4 trees for the stairs, and then there's a 1 tree that fell over, and that's going to have to be removed just to put the deck in.
Oops, sorry. Okay.
All right, so we have this original plan. The stuff that was added to this original plan was going to be trees that were to be removed, John? Is that the?
Yeah, there was some trees for the stairs. There's 4 trees that had to be removed for the stairs. They were pretty much dead trees. They were small. The biggest one was 5 inches in diameter, and then there was like a 2-inch, a 3, and a 4-inch. And then there's a big tree that blew over down by the water that has to be removed to be able to put the deck in.
Okay.
And the dock's gonna go off of that.
Well, based on the information, I'm not sure we're going to be able to conclude this tonight, but based on the information we have before us, do we have any comments or questions from commissioners? Jack Rabbit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, John. Hey, in the drawing, I'm first time having a hard time understanding how you're anchoring this into the slope. How are you doing that?
It's just sitting on the ground. It's not getting,
No,
nothing's getting.
even at that
permanent.
steep angle, you're not going to be embedding anything. You're not going to be digging any holes or anything like that.
No,
No. Hey, and then the other question is, John, you bought that property from Mary, didn't you?
yes.
Okay. And I believe you shared with us that you were going to be parking your car over on her property. Is that what you were doing?
I was going to, but I was talking to Marcia Beers and they said I could park on that property over off the road, so it's not going to be an
Right.
issue.
So you'll be off the road. Now, do you have an
On
agreement?
the other side.
You have a written agreement with that you can park there?
No, I don't, but I could get one for you.
Yeah, I think if it'd probably be the best served because you don't know how long that party is going to be still there. And you might be intruding on them. Obviously, we're concerned about that. Also, we are degrading the slopes and you're taking some trees out. I did have a chance to go back and look from the water's edge, and it's a beautiful spot, beautiful area. And so what are you going to do to compensate for the loss of the trees, specific to the fact that those trees are kind of holding the embankment together right now? Even if you cut them, you leave the root structure there, but you need to be doing something else to preserve that embankment in the long term. And I was wondering what your plans were in that regard.
I could always plant new trees a little further over to.
Yeah, I think that could be certainly something we want to add to the drawings, as well as, again, the definition of the types of footings. And, in the dock, what is the dock going to look like?
It's a 32-foot, it's a floating, rolling dock.
A rolling dock?
Yes.
Not that we have any control beyond that, but yeah. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Any other comments or questions?
Actually, hold on. Here's,
Nadia,
this
is this the revised plan? I found it.
That's the revised one.
I did a search and found it.
Yes, that's the revised one. It shows you the trees in yellow highlighted that are going to be removed to put the structure in, and then the stairs in, and then the dock is coming off of the deck.
It's 10 by 8.
Jack, you have your hand up?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Quite all right.
I was squinting at the at the drawing.
So Jack, you're asking him about replacement trees or compensation?
Yes, we want to.
What'd you have in mind?
Same vegetation that there is now. There is now, consistent with that, which is thriving. I would also hope that the rails are all the way, and essentially the rails continue all the way around, so we don't have any additional walking in that area. We're not taking that apart because theoretically we're in a no-touch area. And I would hope that the rails would assure that nothing else goes on and there are no kayaks thrown off on the side on the bushes or anything like that.
I don't do kayaks. I only have my my boat that I use.
Yeah. So, and you park your kayaks maybe on that deck. I don't know. I know I end up doing mine. Those are my thoughts. Again, we're Where, you know, I get the resting area and I'm not that excited about any kind of a deck there, and you can accommodate. You've got a floating dock. No one says that it can't be.
No, it's a rolling dock.
A
So
rolling dock,
the
okay.
problem I'm gonna have is if I can't store it on, I'm gonna have to take the sections apart at the end of the year, so I'm gonna need that deck to be able to store those sections onto, at least that size, to be able to, if you're not gonna let me put it on the property, or walk on the property, then I've got to do something with the deck, with the dock. I'm gonna have to take the 8-foot sections off, apart, and then at least stack them on that deck for the winter time. I just heard we can't leave them sitting on the shoreline when it's drained. I believe somebody, Rich, somebody mentioned that. So that's not an option. So that'd be the only option I have, is to have that deck there to be able to store those sections.
And perhaps not just trees as well. Maybe, I don't know what vegetation would work there, but something that can get under the dock, under the decks, excuse me, under the stairwell, that can live on some limited amount of light. Just something to keep the whole thing from starting to just erode.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm gonna call on Rich Tremblay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at the drawing, my question is, the 4 trees that are marked, are they coming out because they're dead or because they're interfering with the construction of this stairs and deck?
Both. They're dead, and they're the way they're drawn, they're a little closer to where the stairs are, so they have to be removed to be able to put the stairs in.
So the stairs
they are
would not go in if the trees remained,
No, they're too close. And there's no way to go around them or anything.
and all 4 trees are dead.
Yes.
All right.
And there's a
Thank you,
big
Mr.
one down that fell over that's needs to be removed. That blew over down by the water. But that one's dead too, so.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rich. Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Any comments or questions from members of the public? Oh, Jack Rabbit.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chairman, we brought up that question of the stump. That was the one we saw in the pictures last session or session before. That stump is in the water as well as right on the embankment. You pull that and you're going to do a couple of things. You're going to start distorting the embankment. Also, it's habitat. And so can that deck slide over and leave that stump there?
Well, if I do that, that was a problem. That this drawing is, I remember you asking me about where the stairs are. The stairs are really on the other side of the deck. The deck had to be moved to the left because I couldn't take the dock, put the dock out on the right side of the deck because there's trees and blueberry bushes there, and I didn't want to remove those at the shoreline. So if that other tree, the big tree that fell over, comes down, then I can put the dock out there, and there's nothing else there that needs to be removed.
I guess I'd have to see it.
Yeah, well, it's all marked up down there. I had everything all marked up. It still is. The trees and everything.
Anything else, Jack?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask, I mean, I think the diagram is a little misleading. That top platform, let's call it 6 foot by 4 foot. How wide are the stairs?
4 feet. Everything's 4 feet. It is a little, yeah, it's all the same width.
Okay, so it looks like there's 3 deck areas, but it's really just a flat area in the stair section.
Stairs, right, and then
Okay.
flat area and stairs. And then
Yeah, so, and I mean, that might have to be adjusted depending on where the topography kind of lies going down, but that's your best estimate is you're gonna need a 6 foot section and a 4 foot section of flat area in order to get the stairs to work to go down that slope.
That's correct.
The reason being is if you continue that kind of rise over run with the stairs, you're gonna run into earth at some point. So
Yes.
you're gonna need a level section. So, okay, so I guess as long as that stays straight and doesn't go wider than the stairs on the way down, and you don't exceed that 10 foot by 8 foot platform at the bottom. There's railings on 3 sides being open to the lake if you'd like. And it doesn't protrude out into the lake, meaning that deck doesn't overhang the water.
That's not gonna
And I think if there's you know, a couple of trees replanted. I would say in between that second platform and that lower deck area on each side. If you'd be willing to plant a couple of trees, let's say 2-inch diameter breast height, I think this is a good application. That's my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Nadia.
Yeah, I had a couple questions. One was just for the minutes. Mr. Welton, what is your home address?
It's 4 Mount Henry Road in Shirley, Mass.
Okay, and do you have a home or a house property that you own in the town of Lunenburg?
I own this property in Lunenburg. I own the house in Shirley.
Okay. And then my other question was just, I had some questions from the building department. Have you had a chance to just run this plan by the building department?
No, I didn't realize I had to do that. I was trying to get through this. I can send that out to them.
That would be great. Yeah, we just had some questions come up here at town hall.
Okay. Okay.
I think it would be prudent to have a review of these plans by the building official before we approve them. I mean, how do you feel about that, John?
All right. That I just don't understand what. All right. I mean, if that's what should be done, then I'll do that.
Well, I'm just concerned that, you know, we take and we approve this, and then the building commissioner, the building official says, oh, that won't work, you know, for some reason I don't understand. You know, where are we? You know, I think all of these plans that involve the construction of decks and stairs probably should be reviewed by the building commissioner as part of the review. Although that's not it's one of the first, that's not our lane, but still it's like it impacts, you know, will the plan that's presented work? I don't want to be in a position where you come back and you say, oh, I have to build it differently because what I showed you won't work. Nadia, you still have your hand up?
No, sorry, I'll take it down.
That's quite all right. I just was making sure that you didn't have something to say here. Jeff, you have additional comments here?
Yeah, I just heard a comment that the town approached Nadia. What was that about?
I think there is some question about these structures sort of needing to be in some way either attached to or sort of part of a home that's also within the town. So I just wanted to make sure that that gets reviewed against building code.
Okay, so you may have to be a resident to put it. Okay, I got you.
Or at least own a home that is somehow a part of.
Yeah, so reside in Lunenburg. Okay.
So, John, would it be all right with you if we continued this till July 6th so you could speak with the building official about the whole issue about do the stairs need a building permit?
Yes, sure.
And, you know, only because I'm trying to look out for you here. You know, like if we approve this plan and then we find out that these stairs aren't going to work and they need to be very different for some reason, and we've closed the hearing, it's a problem.
It's pretty similar to everybody else's that are already subject.
Yeah, and I understand that. And so would you prefer that we close the hearing tonight and try and deal with this tonight, Mr. Welton?
I was hoping to get this done soon so I could,
Yep.
try and get this project going, but
Let's do a straw poll. Rich, how do you feel about whether we should move on this tonight or continue?
It's the applicant's choice.
All right, thank you, Rich. Good point. I'm gonna stop the straw poll based on the advice of my esteemed prior chair.
I had an additional piece of advice is that you could make it a part of the RDA conditions, that the applicant make sure that this passes muster with building.
Okay. Someone should making a motion on this notice of, on this RDA.
I can make a motion, Bob, if you'd like.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, you just removed the screen. Okay, I'll make a motion that we make a negative determination. This is an NOI, correct? Or I'm sorry, an RDA.
RDA, yes.
Set of stairs with 2 landings, not to exceed 4 feet in width. And a landing at the lakes at the water's edge, not to exceed 8 by 10 with railings on 3 sides, possibly open towards the lake. And all posts to be put on platforms, no sonotubes, and 2 trees to be planted on either side of the stairs, the second set of stairs, 2-inch in diameter at breast height.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, could I seek an amendment to that?
Can we do a second, Jeff? Go ahead, Jack. What's your?
Okay, basically, I was looking at, could we go to 4 trees to basically replace what's being lost? But also if we could ask that again, we're worried about the parking, and that John's offered to provide a letter saying that he has the rights to park there in perpetuity. Then I'd be happy with that, because otherwise you're creating a problem. Too much congestion, you're asking people to get hurt. So I would, if we could accept those 2 amendments, I'd be more than happy to second Jeff's proposal.
Jeff, will you accept those amendments?
I really don't think parking is within our, I guess, jurisdiction. That's more with,
it's,
if there's a problem with parking, then you need to call the police. And then unfortunately, if it's an issue with the police, then you can't park there. That's the bottom line. So, and then I guess if the applicant can do 2 to 4 trees at his.
I can do 4.
You can do 4? Okay.
Yep.
So I'd accept the 4-tree amendment, just not the parking.
Jack, will you second that?
I will accept the 2 trees. I mean, the 2 additional trees, the 4 trees. I would definitely accept that. But where I'm making an amendment to Jeff can refuse my hopes that we would get a letter from Mary saying that, yeah, or whoever owns that property now, yeah, you can park there. Because I know we've had earlier concerns with regard to parking along that corner and along that turn. And I believe there actually, some of it was within 50 feet. Rich, through you, Mr. Rich, didn't there something like that came up earlier on this?
One of the lots, one of the applicants said that they parked off the street over the curb on the property that was within the 50-foot.
Right.
Okay, so we still don't have a second. Jack's not going to second it.
I would second Jeff's original motion.
Well, at this point, Jeff has modified it to the 4 trees, and John agreed to that. So, are you second?
Yes, I would second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is further discussion? Roll call
Mr.
vote.
Chair, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Even though the letter is not contingent, I think the applicant did say that he thought he could get a letter. Is that still the case?
Well, I'm not sure. I'd have to ask, but
Oh, I'm sorry, John, I thought you said you thought it would be something you could ask for. Will you still ask for it,
I
even
could
though
if
it's
it
not
has to be.
required?
If it's not required, I'd rather not. I mean,
Right. It's not required. Why does he have to get it?
Well, he kind of implied that it seemed to be not an issue before, so that's all I'm asking.
All right. Any other further comments before we vote? All right, then we're gonna roll call. Rich,
No.
Jeff,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Mike,
I'm gonna say a no here.
Jack,
No,
and I for me. It does not pass. You need four votes to pass. John, would it make a difference to anybody if the parking letter was included? So this is a lack of action. We have to, am I right in that this is a lack of action? We haven't passed it and we haven't,
it's not.
and we haven't denied it.
I mean, it didn't pass, didn't meet the majority requirement, so it's an
Yeah.
automatic refusal by the committee.
And you may be right about that, Jack. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, can I also point out that we really haven't seen any of the final drawings or anything like that, and I would certainly be swayed a little bit with regard to the letter if it did appear, and if we could, not that I'm going to get a chance to vote on it, but if that showed up, it potentially could sway somebody. But again, I want to see more of the details. What are those footings going to look like? How far is it really going to stop? Is it, we've had verbal agreements that say it won't get wider than 4 feet. At the top of the pad as presented is wider than the 4 feet. So I would like to see at least a new revised set of drawings. And therefore I would move that it get continued with these updates and perhaps even a letter. And some of tell us the type of trees you want to put in it, John. And I would even be more impressed if you put some blueberry bushes in there. I'm not sure if they'd survive, but you go find somebody that can get some.
So John, I think your best option is at this point is to continue. And with the knowledge that there's going to be a new member, the new member won't be able to vote on this or participate in this hearing, in this decision, because they weren't a member during the prior public hearings. And I've explored this issue with town council in the past. If they weren't, Mary Wilson's going to be a new member, but she can't participate in any issues where the public hearing was open before she became a member. So it's kind of the other 6.
However, could vote under the Mullins rule as long as she reviews the minutes and recording from this meeting.
That's okay, Nadia, I hope you're right.
No.
But I don't think you are. I believe that I've I took this up with Adam Costa and got a different opinion from him.
So commissioners who miss one meeting are not able to use the Mullins rule to vote on it?
No, the fact that she wasn't a commissioner during the prior meetings.
No, not her, a different commissioner, Katie.
Oh, yeah, Katie Childs could participate. Katie Childs is not here tonight, and Katie Childs could participate, in a different month and in a different meeting, and that could make a difference. And how the vote came out, but Mary couldn't. Is my understanding based on prior legal opinions from town council. We're gonna call on Jeff Viviano.
Yeah, I guess I just need to state a couple concerns that I have is that, number one, we don't, at least I'm not positive on this, but parking will be on the street. And I guess, how can we control parking? I don't, because there's a guardrail up by that lot. If you've been there, you cannot park on the property. It's not possible unless you take a guardrail down. So if there's an issue with parking on the street, then somebody will call the Lunenburg police, and then you just can't park there. You're gonna have to park somewhere else. So supplying a letter from another landowner, I'm not sure if that's really gonna be, like a legal document. And then number two is we approved a very similar plan, and we need to follow our votes that we've made in the past on these very similar items. And I just see us falling apart on this one. So that's all I just wanted to state.
Thank you, Jeff. Jack Rabbit.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could respond to Jeff's points. First of all, the one prior to us that we had approved, their home is right across the street. So that's highly unlikely that they would be parking there. And even with if John can secure that, that's great. But we know that they have guests and other things that are going on there that'll show up. They'll be parking either at the guardrail or hopefully on the side of the road, but that gets us into another kind of a problem. So I'm just asking that John secure that. And at the same time, we need to question how we're going to handle the overflow, because there's going to be a lot of people that are showing up. You go on a lake, you always have a lot of friends. They all show up in cars.
I'm not that popular.
You're not that popular. Hey, I hear you have 2 jet skis.
Okay, so I'm gonna call on Richard Bursch now.
Just a quick point. Technically, the road is within a 100-foot buffer, so it is well within our authority if we so exercise it to control parking.
Thank you, Rich. Mike LaRouche has his hand up now.
Yeah, I just brought up the letter because the applicant said he thought he had permission from his neighbor. So that's the only reason why I think it's relevant here. He brought it up.
Okay. So at this point, I guess I'm looking for a motion to continue.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I guess I'm confused. Why are we continuing?
Well,
We're at a standstill.
Well, we weren't.
If we continue it, can we have Katie vote?
Some members expressed interest in additional information. And as chair, I thought it might make a difference.
If
But
you get the letter from, okay.
But that's up to the commission, whether they want to continue or not. I believe, but I'm not positive, that if it's not continued, that's the end of this application, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll be consulting with town council on that.
Okay, so we're just going to continue it for a letter for parking. Okay,
Is that a second, Jeff?
I'll second that. Yes.
Well, now let's see what happens. Roll call vote. Rich?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Patty?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
And I for myself.
Sorry, who made the motion and seconded on that?
Patty made the motion, Jeff seconded it. Thank you, John.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and everybody, thank you.
Under new business, bequest from Sean Kelly. Natalie, can you tell us about the bequest from Sean Kelly? What you know about it so far?
Well, I know as much as you do, Bob. Let me pull it up. Hold on. The commission has been given a bequest from the estate of Sean Kelly, and whatever the net of that estate is, it's currently in probate, is going to be bequeathed to the Conservation Commission.
So it's the net. It's not the property on Hickory Hills Lake. It's the net after it's sold.
I don't know. It's the net of the estate, and it was not made clear in the letter what the net of the estate is.
Because Hickory Hills has a right of first refusal on that property. If it's to be sold. And speaking for myself, I'm not particularly interested in owning property on Hickory Hills Lake as a commission, because it's not going to really fit for passive recreation and will cause us all kinds of headaches. So I guess we need to find out more, and I will be finding out more hopefully when the next time we meet with town council. Because I don't know anyone who's seen the will to see what the exact wording of the will is, but I guess he left his entire estate to the Conservation Commission. Paula Bertram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I ask exactly where this property is, please?
Sean Kelly, he lived on Peninsula.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the address. If you look it up in the assessor's database, I probably could look it up right now. Let's see, assessor's database, CAIGIS.
I think it's 77 Peninsula.
And what's the size of the parcel? Do you know?
None of this was given to us.
Okay, so you don't have anything on
Yeah,
it.
we weren't even told what's in the estate. So we were waiting to sort of talk to the town council before we contact.
77 Peninsula is 0.402 acres.
Okay, thank you.
That's all we know about this, is that someone sent a letter to Nadia, and Nadia copied it to me, and so far that's all we know about it. And so whoops, I got somebody in the waiting room. I hope they haven't been there long. So, but I thought you would be interested.
I definitely am.
Okay, so, but we don't know anything more about it than that, and so I just want to bring it to the commission's attention. I sent an email out to the commission earlier about guidance on failure to act from the DEP, that if we don't commence the hearing within 21 days, or if we don't render a decision within 21 days, if we fail to act within 20 days, in that from the close of the hearing, from when we close the hearing, we got 21 days to sign the thing, or the courts have held that it's an I think they call it constructive approval, and that I was suggesting, but again, I'll be consulting with town council on this the next time we meet, that the people who have had a past practice of not signing, orders of conditions that they didn't agree with and didn't vote for, that they might want to reconsider that. But I will be getting further information on council on that, and and we'll put it on a future agenda. Is there any further discussion about it right now?
I just have a little bit of further guidance from DEP, and yes, the legal ruling set out from ACC was really helpful. But just that also, I think this office sometimes has not issued even things that have been all voted on in 21 days, and it really needs to be, everything needs to come out within that time period. So that's something I'm trying to get on as well on the administrative side.
Thank you, Nadia. Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would think that the individuals that voted for it have an extra responsibility to take the initiative to make sure they do sign off on it. They should be actively participating in this and shouldn't be sitting back and not doing this. Should someone decide that they really aren't happy with this and they really don't want to put their name on it, but they didn't vote for it, I don't think we should be forcing them to sign it either. I think if you had 5 people sign it and approve it, go get the 5 people to sign it. Get those people involved that are sitting back and not being active. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jack. The specific instance here, though, is that we had a application that passed on a 3-2 vote. And so we needed a 4th person to sign it for it to be approved, because the certificate of the order of conditions has to be signed by a majority of the board, even though the vote was only by a 3-2 vote.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I'm talking specifically when an individual decides to decline. And when you go through the checkup, you have an option.
Jack, I'm not trying to force anyone. I'm just suggesting that people might want to reconsider.
You wanted
And obviously, you're not going to do that.
You wanted feedback.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah.
755 Reservoir Road dock. What's that about, Nadia?
Well, we had someone who contacted us, a landowner who's at 755 Reservoir Road. They have a dock already, and they were thinking about, because it's in a place that's quite steep, they have another piece of property that is on the other side of Reservoir Road, and they're thinking of changing where their dock is, and they wanted to know, what they need to do to file with the commission, and sort of wanted more general advice because they haven't done this work before, but I don't see them here at the meeting, so I'm not sure.
And so I would suggest to them that they have to file an RDA for a dock. And, if they want a preliminary read, they could make an, possibly we could schedule an appointment, before they file the RDA if they want some initial guidance, but.
I had recommended it to come tonight, but it doesn't look like they have, so I'll get that.
All right, thank you. I don't know that there are any topics not reasonably anticipated, but thank you for putting it on the agenda. Under old business, encroachment update on encroachment issues, we can delete from future agendas 214 Townsend and 240 Townsend. We have letters from both of those properties that they've removed all the stuff. Although we have not done a site walk to confirm that. Of course, we never did a site walk to see it there to begin with. The surveyors did it for us. We're still waiting for responses on Woodland Drive, on the 2 addresses on Woodland Drive to more recent letters. And I think we should keep 192 Townsend Harbor on there until such time as they've completed, the removal of the materials on town land. Those are my thoughts. Anybody have any additional comments on those? Hollis Road residents, update on maintenance work and request for reimbursement.
Yes, I can give a little update here. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Mark Bursch, who in our time of need, when just prior to the big open house at the pollinator habitat, Mark volunteered his equipment, his time on a moment's notice to come in and mow the paths for Ginny Albertson, because we had not had a time to establish ourselves that work. So I just wanted to say thank you to Mark Bursch. He would not take any consideration for his effort. And Ginny and I wanted to certainly thank him for his effort, and Lakeview for doing their part. So that said, the other piece that we needed to talk about was that we've spoken to the tenant and who at length and has come up with certain, oh, I see it right in front of me here. There's some unpaid invoices that are still due to her. And we're just wondering where that might be at in her regard.
So Mike, would you like to make a motion that we reimburse the tenant $305.43 for this expense she incurred?
Yes, I do. I would like to.
Do we have someone to
make a
second
motion.
that motion?
Second.
Roll call, Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
I for myself.
Great.
And that'll come out of the Hollis Road account.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
And I talked to the treasurer about this, and it's fine that it's from a couple years ago because it's a revolving account. But she does need, this isn't sufficient. She needs evidence that the resident has paid. So they kind of need to show that they, you know, like from their checking account or something like that, they need to show how they've actually paid for this bill.
And so you communicate that to the tenant that she needs to either produce a canceled check or a credit card statement?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair, I can do that.
All right.
The other piece is we did speak regarding perhaps getting Unitil to address some of the other issues regarding insulation, windows, and other items regarding what Unitil does at this point to help residents generate kinds of energy protections, and Unitil, unlike other utilities, the tenant has to make the call in order to establish the appointment. And unfortunately, right now, the tenant has COVID, and she said as soon as she gets around, and she hopes in a day or so that she will be in contact with Unitil to set up that appointment.
Super.
And I think that kind of brings us up to date in that regard. She has been doing the mowing, by the way, for the pollinator habitat on Ginny's behalf. And so she is willing and very glad to do it and help out the pollinator habitat when needed.
And Nadia, if you look at the lease, which if you can't find it, let me know and I'll send it to you, that we have with the tenant. The lease calls for her to take and do so much volunteer hours every month. And that the assistant town manager questioned whether or not she was actually doing these hours. And Matt said that he was gonna, I asked Matt to take and send her an email saying, you know, can you please send me, you know, a report, you know, that documents, you know, or records, you know, when you've done these hours. And it won't surprise me if you won't be able to find that, but you might want to follow up with the tenant about that, about documenting the volunteer hours that she does. Any questions, Nadia, about that?
No, I did see some emails seeing there was some question about the value of the hours as well. I don't have further information on it on the moment.
Okay, well, no, the way the lease is written, it specifies a number of hours. It doesn't really say there's any value to them or anything like that. It just says, that she pays $10,800 a year as a donation to the Hollis Gift Fund. And in addition, she's supposed to do so many hours a month. I forget the exact number of hours. So there you have it. Certificate of Compliance, 798 802 West Street.
Yes, this is RJ Tebow.
Yep.
So yes, just looking to close out a certificate of compliance for a septic system put in quite a few years ago. So I spoke to Nadia about this. I believe I hope I filed all the proper paperwork to get this, and I think there was going to be a site visit this past Saturday.
So Nadia, do you have a recommendation on this certificate of compliance?
I mean, it looks like it's fully revegetated. They was for basically putting in, I think, septic system repairs across the street from wetlands. And it looks like it's all been, revegetated about a decade ago.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the certificate of compliance unless there's further discussion first. Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Patty. Do we have a second?
Second by Jeff.
Second by Jeff. Mike LaRouche has discussion.
I think Mike left the meeting.
Oh, we left the meeting.
I think I saw him leave, but
Well, he's got his hand up right now, but he's also muted.
Maybe he just left for a second.
Oh, maybe.
I saw it pop up that he left, but he's probably
All
back.
right, well, let's do a roll call vote and see what happens. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Bye.
Jack,
Aye.
I for myself, and Mike, if you're there, we're gonna say you.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, here he is. Look at that. Just in the nick of time.
Yeah. We
All right,
kind of
thank you, Mike.
So I just
I
want
sort of
to,
I still have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had lost you for a moment and I apologize. I had one more thing on the pollinator habitat.
Well, I'm so sorry, Mike. Come on, go ahead.
All right, we're trying to work out with our goat people in town to take care of some poison ivy in the pollinator habitat. And apparently they're willing to go ahead, and it looks like there's going to be an invoice potentially of $645. I was under the impression because they might be working on, we allow them to use conservation land, that it could be a wash, but that isn't clear just yet. But
A wash in what way? You lost me about when you said a wash.
I think when Matt was here, he sort of alluded that it would be free, any goat services that we incurred from them because of their arrangement with the Conservation Commission, that it may be pro bono, but I'm not sure.
I'll be surprised if they give it to you pro bono, but you never know.
Okay. Well, the other piece of it is that after the goat work that is done within 3 weeks, the goat people suggest that you need to put vinegar on the surface of the land in order to make this work and get to the root system. And we're still waiting for a soil report, unless there's some soil experts among us today to say that it will not hurt the soil by putting vinegar on them. And we will know in a couple of days when we get a soil expert's reaction to that. But as an alternative, we're thinking about putting clear plastic over the area that the goats have eaten the poison ivy, and given time, that may either slow down or burn up the roots underneath. And if it should so happen that the vinegar will harm the soil, we're looking more at putting the clear plastic as an alternative to ruining the soil. So I know this sounds all convoluted, but apparently this is a thing. And so we may be incurring a $645 charge, as well as potentially some vinyl plastic to cover the 300 linear feet of pollinator area in question. And I just want the commissioners to be open to potentially incurring an invoice for that if it should come to pass.
Well, I think we got 50 grand in that account, so I'm certainly open to it, but I'm just one commissioner.
Okay.
I mean, the way we do this usually, Mike, is you come in and you say, oh, we want to spend this much money for sure. And we vote on it and we approve it and away we go. So you're not sure yet
Okay.
whether we're going to spend $650 on goats or not?
Well, I think we want to certainly spend the 650 on the goats, but I don't know.
Are you
whether
making
or
a
not
motion,
we
Mike,
incur
to
any-
authorize $650 for goats?
Yes,
Do we have a
I
second?
do.
Do we have a
Second
second?
by Jeff.
A second by Jeff, a motion by Mike, a second by Jeff. Roll call, Rich,
All right,
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
I for myself. I don't think the vinegar will hurt the dirt in any way, shape or form, but even though I have a master's in ecology, I would never call myself an expert.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Administrators report action items, 131 White Street.
Sure. So this is a site, this is on the Lunenburg Housing Authority, and they are looking to take out quite a number of trees. They are all mostly dead or dying. This is Lunenburg Housing Authority site. It's within, between 30 and 50 feet of Pearl Hill Brook, I believe. And they are looking to take down these trees for matters of public safety. A couple of the commission members, I think, came out with me on Saturday to take a look at the trees that they're removing. And I don't know if any of the commissioners have any opinions on it.
Would anyone who went on the sidewalk like to comment on these trees?
Sure, Bob, I can. This is Jeff.
Well, first, we're gonna start with Jeff and then we're gonna go to Jack.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, most of the trees are large pines, 60 to 100 feet tall. Some of them 2 feet around. And I would say a good 90% of them are close to dying. And I think that they're probably posing a danger to a parking lot that's very close. There are a lot of dead trees within 30 feet of that brook. I'm not sure if the town can, but if they could replant. There was one area that was really close to the brook. If they could replant, I would say 3 trees in that area. I think Nadia remembers, something that we would approve in that area that would be beneficial to the brook. But pretty much all the other trees are, like I said, close to dying. So
Let's hear what Jack has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm kind of with Jeff in that just because the trees are dead or dying, I don't have a problem removing them, especially if they could be a safety problem. I have a problem with if just because they're dead and dying, you feel no need to replace them. In fact, it gets worse if you don't, because grass grows, things like that. People get mowing, and you'll never get another tree in there again. And especially where it's so close to the brook, the habitat is degraded. So as long as we're coming close to putting the same amount of trees back that we've taken out, I would definitely go along with something like that. But I want the trees back in and the area protected, such it can rehabilitate itself.
So Nadia, are you suggesting that this be done as an administrative determination? Are you suggesting that we do this as an RDA? What are you suggesting here?
So what I said to the applicant, because they do want to move fairly quickly, is that we could try it as an administrative determination. And if the commission felt it's more appropriate for this to happen under an RDA with some provisions for replanting, requesting, a plan for that, that would be a possibility. But they would at least know by the end of the night tonight if they had to put in a bigger application for an RDA. So I'm leaving it to the commission to make a decision. If it is about 20 trees. They are larger trees. This is all definitely, some of it's very close. I'd say within 10 feet of the brook. So it's sort of up to the commission. Is this appropriate to be an administrative determination? Or would it be more appropriate to bring it up to RDA?
I'm gonna call on Richard Bursch, because I think I know what he's gonna say.
I'm gonna recommend, as they need a waiver from our bylaw for replacing trees within the no-touch zone, that an RDA be submitted.
And I would second Rich's suggestion. 20 trees is way too many trees, and they're big trees, but to do is an administrative determination, in my opinion.
So move.
Second.
So I don't think we need a vote there, but Nadia, I think that, please tell them they got to file an RDA.
Will do. And they are knowing that they may need to.
372 Townsend Harbor. What's going on there, Nadia?
So this is another request. This is partly, I believe the homeowner is here tonight as well. But this is let me see if I can pull it up. This is if you remember, this is next door to the other site that recently had a project approved. This is where they have that runoff, and there was a bit of a trench dug in the ground. Let me I can pull up the picture if that's helpful for folks. Hold on. Grab that. So this area, so there, it is about 20 feet in length, and they are looking to do some plantings, which I think are typically exempted and could be handled with an administrative determination. That's what the bylaw says. And she is planning to plant arbor vitae. I think the closest approach to the lake is we measure about 25 feet from the edge of the lake on the left. There.
And looks like the area is all now totally disturbed.
Yes, and so the idea is the plantings would help to deal with runoff and maybe be a little more able to slow down the water as it's running off of this site, which is quite steep coming from the road.
Comments or questions from commissioners in doing this as an administrator's determination? And I've lost my view of the participants. Oh, there we are, Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, is there any question with regard arborvitae? My beautiful arborvitae have gone up to 20 feet. Is that obstructing anybody? Is there a view issue here that would have to be considered? Have we heard from the abutters at all, or anybody else for that matter? But again, I know we plant trees and they grow and they're bigger than that, but where there hasn't been, is that a consideration? That's all I'm asking, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Rich.
As Nadia said, I believe hand digging trees and shrubs is exempt under the regulation. And as long as they're not changing the grade at all, my only concern is Nadia did say they're trying to slow the water, so as long as there's no grade change, I would feel comfortable as an administrative determination.
And so is that a motion, Rich?
Certainly is.
I'll
Yeah,
just confirm that the grading in the area where they are planning to plant is almost completely flat. It's that there's runoff from the sloped area, you know, sort of uphill of this.
But they're not changing the grade, right, Nadia?
It appears to be hand planting.
Okay, so do we have a second for Rich's motion?
Second,
All right, Mike seconded it.
Mike.
So roll call, Rich,
All right,
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
and I for myself. Tell us about 386 Sunset Lane. Nadia?
Again, this is Mr. Tremblay, I think, who is an associate member of the commission, probably going to recuse himself here. But he has a tree. He has some other work that's already been covered under an open order of conditions for a retaining wall. These are some birch trees at the very edge of his property that are have fallen into the water since last winter, and I think he is hoping that he may be able to remove them. They're still alive, but they seem to have collapsed. And I don't know if he has any pictures that he would like to share as the homeowner here.
Rich, you got any pictures?
Yes, let me look them up. I also am going to replant. I just want to get these out of the water and off my lawn. And we'll replant something to grow up. A canopy causes the birches to grow outward, and they just don't survive under any kind of bad weather.
These
let me
gray
see.
birches,
I'm sorry.
are they gray birches?
Yeah, whitish gray. Yeah.
Well, gray birch is a species of tree that has white bark with with black spots on it.
Let me see if I can find you a picture, sir.
And they're kind of smallish, and they have a tendency to bend over and fall down
These are small, absolutely.
on the way under the weight of snow, and then they never recover.
Okay. Let me see. I think I did take a picture. Have it in a second. Okay, there's one. I just got to share my screen. Sorry. There you go.
I don't think that's a birch.
Okay. This one is down on the other side, and this.
Well, maybe it
one
is.
Came down here. Let me see if I can find you something else.
What do you think that is, Rich?
kind of looks like an oak.
No.
I don't think that's a birch.
I don't think it's a birch either. I think it's a
That's definitely an oak. If you look at the saplings coming up underneath, those are oak leaves all around it.
Good
well,
catch,
those are the
Rich.
leaves in the back. They look, at any rate, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
There is a birch in the background that's kind of in the
Yeah,
water.
this one's down
You
too.
can
This
see.
is the one that's in the water.
Yeah,
So
so
that's the one with the whitish bark or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Water?
would someone like to make, so you're gonna replace these?
Yo, absolutely. But I want to replace them with something that's going to grow maybe 6-8 feet, because that'll keep it under the canopy. So it'll have a shot of growing straight up and surviving. Maybe Rich, you give me some suggestions on that?
Would anyone like to make a motion on this as an administrative determination?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Jack. Do we have a second?
Mike said second.
Mike said second. Let's do a roll call. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
I for myself. Enforcement, please only mention the ones where you have something to tell us about. Nadia, it's 10:29.
Yes, yes, it is. So let's see, I think the first one I have something to tell you about is Cove Road. I did drive by Cove Road, and to me, it looks like, and I sort of had a conversation with Matt, who stopped by. There's been utility work by Unitil. They've been doing a bunch of work on cutting things around the, lines and any other kind of things. And it kind of looks like what they did is they cut a bunch of vegetation around the electricity pole. So that's Cove Road. That also impacts 24 Hemlock Road, which is, elsewhere on Hickory Hills. And I talked to the homeowner in that case. She contacted the office, and she said that the recent cutting was also from Unitil, that there have been some sparks coming off the line near those trees, and that's why they cut them down and then carted them away.
So we're gonna take that off the agenda in future, the 24 Hemlock, that really should be 24 Hemlock Terrace, not Hemlock
Sorry
Road.
about that. Yeah.
That's all right.
And then beyond that, let's see, I have a from Gabe's Place. They have submitted, they're no longer going to build a pool at this time because they're not sure if they have a place to site it. They did submit a replanting plan if the commission would like to look at that. I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to take the commission out on a site walk for that property yet. But they have submitted a replanting plan.
And anything else to report? Any of these enforcement orders?
Let's see, what else? The only other one, Electric Avenue. So at this point, they had continued to do additional work, and we've now issued to them a cease and desist letter. And what they've done is they've actually marked off the area where they had disturbed it, and it looks like they're not going to do any work until they submit an RDA. I also heard from 75 West Street, and they are currently submitting an RDA after the fact for the work that they have done on their driveway. I don't know if there are additional issues beyond the driveway at 75 West Street.
Okay.
So that's a question to the commission.
Nadia?
Yes.
Yeah, the 75 West Street, I noticed that they had cleared near their driveway after the fact. But my concern was on the far side of West Street where they dumped the fill and made themselves an oversized parking area there running down into the swamp and the wetland there on the low side of West Street.
Okay. And do you know when that was dumped? Because I saw it in the.
Oh, I would have to check
photos.
I can check the picture I had sent Matt, but within the last 30 days.
Okay.
They increased what was there by probably a third.
Okay.
And I'll shoot you off the picture that I took drive by. I mean, it was very obvious then because the gravel was all fresh.
Okay. So what I did ask about that, and they said that they, at least what I heard from the homeowner is that they have not touched that area and they don't own it.
No, they lied because their camper was parked on it and the gravel was definitely fresh 4 weeks ago.
And even in the 2021 aerial, you can see they got something parked over there.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a swamp across the street.
Oh, yeah, the fill goes right down into the water that they added.
Okay. All
I'll
right.
get that to you.
Okay. Thank you. That would be really helpful. And would you like them to come in under the enforcement order for that? Or would you like them to try to submit something after the fact? What's the plan for that piece of it?
Well, my suggestion is going to be any fill that's within the 30 feet needs to be removed, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should do it under enforcement order.
All right. I'll let them know.
But Rich, do you agree with that?
Sure. Yep.
How about, I see we have Butch McGurn here, Butch and Joanne McGurn.
Hi, Mr. Chairman.
Nadi, did we get something new in from 238 Fire Road 16?
I am not certain that we have anything. Oh, we might have the fully revised plans, actually. Hold on, let me see if I can pull them up. Is that correct? I'm just gonna ask the applicant.
Yes, that is correct. We sent
Okay.
that to you directly, and was the week that you and Matt were still together. We CC'd you and Matt.
Did you, so it wasn't on the, did we not talk about them on the first?
When we, at the last meeting, we had this discussion with the engineer about how wanted to take and revise the plans and exceed the grade that he was proposing to get it back to the original approved grade.
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Pease. It was sent to Nadia.
Oh, yeah, the June 9 plans, is that right?
6/9, correct.
So, sorry, I'll pull them up right now. They're in the folder.
Thank you, Nadia.
And so I've just had a lot of stuff coming through my office this week, so, or the last couple weeks. So let me share, which one is the one that, there's two, one is AB and the other one is MIT. Which one is it? Mitigation?
That would be the,
I think AB is the grading.
Okay, is that the one you wanted to look at? Bigger.
We want to enlarge the area right in front of the house.
yeah, that's the one, that's the one that you're about to pull up is the proposed regrading plan. And then on the other plan, it would be the proposed planting plan. So it wouldn't get confused between the two, so it took the lines out of everything. So you can see on this drawing here, my engineer took in consideration the board's suggestion or recommendation to bring everything back to the 308 line. And Rich Birch, you can confirm that because you understood the grading as it was before. The 308 line now is brought down from the existing grade north and right down to the end. It's a steeper grade than we would have liked, but I think we've accommodated the request. Mr. Commission, if you'd like me to explain the next drawing, I could do as well. The changes on this drawing, on the west side, where the 30-foot no-touch zone is, we added an additional 3 trees from the last generation of drawings, which now include a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trees off the west of the house itself for a mitigation or replanting zone there. That also is in addition to the existing trees that remained at the 30-foot, no touch. The other area would be the pond side of it. You asked for placement of 3 sizable trees off to the right there where the dead trees were. And I think that was something Jeff recommended, and those were also accommodated. Those were the takeaways from our last meeting.
Are there any comments or questions from commissioners?
Hey, Butch, I did have a quick question for you. On the plan, it says all disturbed areas are going to be seeded with New England wildflower mix. So you're going to take and put wildflower mix in amongst all those shrubs and trees that you're planting there on the banking?
That's what my engineer is proposing, yes.
Okay.
Anything else, Rich?
That's why.
No, not at this time. The grading looks like it was, with the exception of the floodplain compensation area, looked like it was back to what was approved.
Thank you, Rich. Jack Rabbit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we see the drawing for the rest of the plot, specifically the driveway area all the way out to the fire road? Is that ready? That drawing ready? Because we were pretty insistent that we wanted it revegetated as much as possible. And the driveway would remain at 10 feet and 2 feet on each side, and then we would vegetate after that. Is the other one, is that drawing available?
Yes.
I
in
can't
the
see it.
packet. There you go.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time reading this. So what is the width of the driveway? 10 feet?
10 feet.
And those little icons that the little squares along the way, are those are trees being planted? Now, why aren't they being planted all throughout the entire length of the driveway? I'd like to point out that we do have jurisdiction out to 100 feet. This is a highly sensitive area with regard to absorption. And, as much as we can observe in some of our guidelines, and I'm sure you've seen some of them as well, they're calling for minimal disruption. And in this particular case, without those trees being there, we're not going to get it. In fact, interestingly enough, the longer you leave it there without adding topsoil and replanting it, you get more acid, more runoff, lack of nutrients. You've got to add topsoil. And I'd be interested to see what you'd be doing there. And what's the interval of trees along each side of the driveway? Because you have cut out to be about 24 feet. And you're only really using, was it 14 feet of it? So there's 5 feet on each side. That's an opportunity to plant some trees. And at least try and.
Jack, I would just remind you, at the last meeting, I did a straw poll. And you were the only commissioner who was interested in seeing more trees planted along the driveway.
Yeah, and I believe that there was a straw poll, Bob.
Yeah.
So you're telling me the rest of the members aren't interested in preserving the rest of that habitat? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying was your proposal to require more trees along there did not garner any support in the straw poll. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Could we get a poll that allows us to identify each member who says we don't need more trees? I'm sorry, I don't recall that straw poll or the details around that.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I haven't put my hand down yet. I'm sorry.
Go
But
ahead.
I would just like to point out that, we've run a ton of heavy equipment across that area. And the absorption capabilities have diminished by almost, they say that you get down to like reduced by at least 20% up to 80% in terms of absorption capabilities. They tell us that in our guidelines that we should revegetate as quickly as we possibly can for those areas that have been disturbed. I'm just amazed that we don't have more of a discussion around reestablishing that area that's been taken. And I might point out, not lawfully, but anyway, so if the rest of the members are saying they don't care, then I just want to hear it again, I guess. I didn't hear it the first time.
Thank you, Jack, for letting us know what you would like.
And I will forever, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that the applicant has supplied everything that was requested of them at the last meeting. I am hoping that tonight we can take and have a vote to take it, accept this remediation plan and turn it back into a situation where our administrator goes out and monitors it for compliance with the remediation plan. And we can stop discussing this at every meeting. Oh, somebody's on iPhone 3 wants to be admitted to the meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Hi, Bob, we lost, this is Joanne. Butch and I lost internet connection there. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I don't know what we missed, but sorry, we lost you for a minute there.
All right, well, you're back now.
Yeah, on my phone.
Okay. So, and actually now I can hear you much better than I could before. It sounded like Butch was at the far end of a tunnel before.
Oh, sorry about that.
Bob will make a motion.
And what would that motion be?
We accept this mitigation plan and remove the stop work order at 238 Fire Road 16.
Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Then we're gonna do a roll call vote. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Patty,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jack,
Nope.
and
No.
I for myself. All right. So, so Butch, your remediation plan is approved.
Thank
You
you.
know, I expect Nadia will come out there from time to time, you know, to check up on the progress. I expect at some point the commissioners are gonna want to come out and take a look, you know, at the progress.
Mhm.
And I hope if you want, if you ever even think about varying anything from what was approved, that you come and you talk to us about it first.
Absolutely. In fact, Nadia, I'm not just gonna depend on you to visit. I'm gonna ask that on a few various stages, just to make sure all of our thoughts and interpretations of the plan are in alignment with the commission. Because there was some, you know, I mean, I will admittedly say that the riprap was just an assumption based on the plans, and that was something that I would have just thought was a very natural product that was accepted. So I'm going to request that Nadia and stay in touch with her very quickly.
Yep, let me know when you start the work. I'm happy to come out.
Okay, great. And then one other extension to this is we have the dock. I have the letter that we wrote to the commission a long time ago with the original NOI and our written statement that you requested at the end of it, that this is still a open permit for the dock. Do I have approval to put the dock in?
Have you ever sent us a description of the dock? That's, you know,
It was on one plan a while ago, but I do have one, just it's gonna be a 4x36 dock right off of the off the edge there where we were putting the
and are you modifying the shoreline at all where the dock goes?
rolling dock.
And it's a rolling dock.
Mr. Chair, given the history of this, I would like to see it proposed in a location on the approved plan before we consider it as a field change.
We
It-
did
it-
have it on one of the previous
It
plans.
clearly is not on the approved plan. I would like to see it on the approved plan in the location where you are going to put it.
All
So,
right.
so when you want to put the dock in, but Butch, please come back to us for a field change. We'll put you on the agenda as a field change. Okay, to an approved plan.
Is
But
that
it should be on the final remediation plan, okay?
Okay, so I can just add it to the plan and resubmit for this.
All right, and submit it as a field change.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Anything else on enforcement, Nadia?
I don't have anything else at this time.
Are they meeting on the 6th?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we have anybody else still with us. Update on Trails Grant. The last sets of signs have been ordered. And as soon as I pay that bill, I hope to meet with the, make an appointment with Karen Brochu so we can submit to reimbursement and close out the grant. There'll still be a lot of work left to do, but as far as spending the grant money, that'll be done. Any committee reports? Does anyone have any agenda items for the next meeting? I want to put this on as a regular thing in the future, Nadia, at the end, agenda items for the next meeting. I noticed the planning board does that, and I kind of like that. Mike LaRouche.
I just wanted to extend is there time to say a fond goodbye to my good friend, Jack Rabbit?
And I was gonna do that under public communications and public comment. But if you want to start now, you go right ahead.
I just wanted to make sure that we bid Jack Rabbit a fond farewell as one of my great colleagues here at the Conservation Commission. Some of you might know that Jack invited me to the Conservation Commission, and I was pleased that he did. And I just wanted to say that, Jack has always been prepared and researched all of the things that he brings to the commission. He's a passionate commissioner, and he has always made the site walks along with the commissioners. And I always look forward to his observations and findings at each of our Conservation Commission meetings. His presence to the Conservation Commission will be missed. Personally, I will miss your energy and your advocacy for the wetlands. And I hope I can follow your lead and always be the voice of the wetlands as you have always shown to be. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
And I wanted to say that no one works harder. No one cares more. And no one shows up for more meetings or to more site walks. And Jack has been one of our very hardest working members and a great contributor. You will be missed. Jack Rabbit.
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you very much. And to all the members, I've enjoyed the 8 years I've been working on this. I started out with you always have a vision and mission and strategy. My vision was to protect Lunenburg and make sure we had as much habitat as we possibly could get. And, we recognize that, we got a lot of growth going on, and the amount of stuff that's going on right now. We're not winning our war. I was hoping I could only lose inches at a time, but we're losing a lot. And we got to work really hard. And so my personal strategy was to join conservation, not to be the chairman or anything like that. And I think you all know that, but to essentially see what I could do to help our town and help protect that habitat. And so while it was disappointing I wasn't reappointed, it's okay. It really is. And, it's just means that you continuously have to readapt. And, and how do I serve my vision and mission, and what new strategy am I going to have to use? And I'm still searching for that. One of the ones that, I was exploring, and Rich Tremblay, you might want to pay attention to this, is that, okay, what are the, clearly might be some unrecognized liabilities with adjunct members. And so I wanted to make sure I was going to stay clear of anything like that, but I'm thinking of serving as much as I can. And if you recall Bob, Andrea, who stayed with us for quite a while in and out, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to kind of go into that Andrea mode a little bit and sit and participate as a citizen. And why not? I feel bad that, I lost the stormwater because that was honestly, that's the biggest problem our lakes have, is the materials that float in from all over into this lake, and the phosphorus, the plastics. So I'm going to have to come up and figure out another way of affecting that. So I'm not going away. I'm just going to readapt. And again, thank you very much. And remember, you're the front lines. You're the only thing that's really saving us. So anyway, thank you again for allowing me to serve with you folks. And I know I've irritated a few of you every so often, but it was, conversely the same. But we both had the same, I believed in a common vision to protect our town and develop as much habitat. So again, thank you very much. And with that, I will sign off. Okay, thank you and good night.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Nadia. Nadia.
I do want to say thank you to Jack for welcoming me so warmly to the commission, and thanks for all his service. And then I also had an administrative question, which is to the commission about the site visits for the July 6th meeting. I don't know if people are planning to be away for the July 4th weekend, and if it would be appropriate to do site walks on June 25th instead.
Well, I can first tell you for sure, that's the day of the boat parade at Hickory Hills Lake, and I won't be going on any sidewalks that day. So June 25th might be a good plan if we have everything in place in time.
Is that a Saturday?
Yes.
But Nadia, we'd have to have, like the plans and stuff, for the commissioners to review for us to have an effective site walks. And that's 10 days in advance of the meeting is.
So, I mean, as far as I know, the submissions now, we've posted the filing deadlines, and I've been telling applicants if they want to be heard for anything new, it needs to be coming in, more than 10 days prior to the meeting. So in terms of advertising for the next meeting, things have to be in by next Tuesday. And the big one I think we really want to go to is on Holman and Northfield. That lot there, they're finally ready to open, and the commission hasn't been out there yet. So I'm starting to schedule, visits with the engineers. They seem to be done with their plans finally.
Okay.
So what if we do it July 1st? That's the Friday before.
Would the commission prefer to do Friday, July 1st?
Well, that's the reason I never go on any of the site visits, because they're during the week and I work all week long. I know this Saturday I went away this weekend, this past Saturday.
We know that July 2nd is a problem.
No.
Well, it's a problem, at least for some of us.
Okay.
It's,
I can go to hers at that
a lot of people go away for the July 4th weekend.
Friday would work for me if I can be of any help.
Any perspective from the other members? Because I have to schedule some things with the engineers. That's why.
I think I might be around on the 1st of July. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna look at my calendar right now to see if the 1st of July works for me.
We do have to make sure the engineers are around too, because sometimes people have the 1st through the 4th off, but I'm sure we can do that.
Nadia, this is Mary. I expect to be sworn in by then. I sometimes have flexibility in my Friday morning schedules. Saturday, the 2nd, I am available.
Yeah, I can do the 1st.
Okay, so the morning of the 1st then?
I can do the 1st as well, Bob. So.
All right.
Alright. Okay, so I'll schedule things for the morning of the 1st and let you all know.
All right.
Thank you, Nadia.
So Rich, I have to ask, what is that tower that's your icon there?
That is Bach Tower.
That's what I thought.
Yep, that's Bach Tower outside of Winter Haven, Florida.
I thought so. I wasn't sure though. With that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Actually, I did have a quick comment, Bob.
Sure, go ahead.
You had read some of the comments that the selectmen had at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And I guess I would ask for some clarity to that. I'm not exactly sure how they can dictate that our meetings are too long and our applicant, I forgot the word you used.
The applicant, they said the app with the user experience of the app.
There you go, user experience. So I guess I would be looking for a little direction from them if they're making the comments as to what they feel we should be doing differently. I mean,
Did you watch the meeting, Rich?
I did not.
I suggest you watch it. The people who made the most comments were Tom Alonso and Michael Ray Jeffries.
Okay. I shall. I guess that having sat on this commission for 20 some odd years, our meeting lengths are in line with where they've been historically. And a lot of it depends on how many applications we have before us. I don't think a lot of the timing is things that we can control. So, but I will watch it and see what other comments they did have.
Yeah, I would suggest you watch it. It doesn't take that long to get to the part where Alonzo and because it comes the place where they give a lot of, but it also comes sometimes during the questioning. They asked a lot of very pointed questions. I mean, but in general, I think our meetings are too long. I do my best as chairman to try and keep them shorter without, trying to be disrespectful, of the ability of commissioners, to express themselves and get their questions asked. And I do try to urge commissioners, to like stick to the Inland Wetlands Act.
Yeah, and you do a great job of it. So that's why I was a little confused as to why they would have made a comment like that, but I will see what their suggestions are on how we can improve our meetings.
Yeah, and I don't think they had a lot of suggestions. I think they had a lot of observations, not suggestions for improvement. So although Michael Ray did have specific suggestions about to individual members, and he was looking at one particular member of the audience when he was saying that. So, but you can watch that for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You betcha. All right. So now is there any other comments? Now can I ask for a motion to adjourn at
So moved.
11:02? Thank you.
Second.
All right. Roll call. Rich.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
Patty. Oh, Patty's not here. Oh, Patty must have left. Mike,
Aye.
Jack just had left us. I for myself, and welcome Mary Wilson.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Night.